Hello, everybody. All right, I do apologize for that. I have no idea what on earth caused that. What on earth possibly could have caused that? That was incredibly strange. Yeah, it might be one of those nights. I really don't know what caused that. Um, I like out of nowhere, everything just stopped loading. Everything just stopped loading. My game stopped loading. There was like some serious buffering issues going on the live stream itself. My camera turned off. Everything just stopped. I don't know what that was, but I think I've got it fixed now. Hopefully we're good. We shouldn't have any issues now moving forward. So I'll give it another minute or so. Let everyone join in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. With that being said, it's probably not going to be a super long stream tonight. I do have a couple of things I got to do in the morning. So I have to, I'll probably cut it a little earlier than I usually do. I've been going till like 1 a.m., but yeah. So we'll probably cut it a little bit earlier than usual tonight. But yeah, everything's fine. I don't know what that was. Everything just like shut down. My camera shut down. My stream stopped working. Everything was being really weird, but I fixed it. I fixed the chat in the interim while I was getting that booted back up, and we should be fine. And we'll go there. So I'm going to give it just another moment. Probably give it till 9:17 my time, and then we'll show another 2 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get started in earnest. Again, I apologize to everybody for that weird delay. I've never had that happen before. Never had that happen before. But in the interim, let's go ahead and take a look at what we were working on. So the keep is coming along nicely. I got to come up with a nice solid blueprint for how I want this island to be actually arranged. Yeah, and how I want to actually arrange the island. I'm thinking probably like a T-shaped city. So probably some more buildings here, gates right here, and then we'll kind of feed the gates off of the keep as well. So we got a solid foundation for how we're going to end up building this thing. Eventually these are all going to get dismantled and moved over this way to make more room to move the actual barrier for the town over. But give it another minute, let everyone join back in, or the people that are going to join back in. Fortunately lost a couple, but that's okay. Oh man, how's everyone's day going? Send a link to the stream over to cool. Yeah, new broadcast. Like I said, I was having some serious issues with that last one. I don't know what was going on with that. I've never had that happen before. Everything just shut down. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was like a lapse in my internet or what that deal was, but everything just shut down. But luckily we've got it all figured out. We got the chat situated, so no big deal. We're gonna go ahead and get started. 9:17. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So welcome to Mad Lads Live, everybody. This is Kenshi Return of the Dwarves, episode 6. For those of you who are unfamiliar with my Kenshi Return of the Dwarves series, this is a dramatic retelling of my original Let's Play that I did on the channel 3 years ago, where I created the Kingdom of the Dwarves, but I was unable to continue, and since then we are deciding to bring back the Dwarves in this new fashion. This is an Iron Man run. That means no save scum, no reloads, no save scumming, no saving anybody who dies. If someone dies, they are dead permanently as we build our kingdom. So last episode, we started building our official keep. We recruited our first, our one and only juggernaut here, Lord Stream, named after our illustrious chat moderator. He is our absolute Chad lad, wielding the giant hammer, and he is our first official nobleman in conjunction with our leader, our illustrious leader, King Vashu, who is using a Maitao saber, and our soon-to-be-named secondary nobleman, by the name of Griffin, who will be also named nobility. So I have some pretty big plans moving forward, where I'm going to end up having noble families. There's going to be, heirs to each household. So in the event that one of the high noblemen fall in battle, their heir will take over as the new nobleman. So a lot of good stuff in the plans. But right now, we got to focus on getting this base finished up. Wonderful. All right, so we were just working on building. Yeah, that's all we were doing. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to pop this gate open, let everybody get back to building. Hopefully we don't have too many crab attacks in the meantime. And then while we're doing that, I actually am going to get started on building my gate. I should be able to put down a defense gate too. And we're going to drop this right about... Oh, you know what? Actually, we're not going to go defense gate 2. You know what we're going to do? We're going to use the storm gate, because I just remembered I have that, and it will match the rest of my... like the rest of the buildings, too. I think it'll look good. And it looks more like built together. It's got that aspect of masonry that you'd want with the dwarven boys. So I just got to figure out where that is again. It's been a while since I've used it. I'm pretty sure I have it researched, don't I? Don't I have it researched yet? Hold on. Hold on. Oh, no, I don't. Okay, so we got to get research finished up, and then we'll do that. Ridley, come in here. We're going to have Ridley get to researching as well to speed things up a little bit. Beep is one of the chads. There are multiple chads, right? It's not just Beep. I assure you it's not just Beep. There's Beep. I would argue that Agnew is a bit of a chad. We do love Agnew. Infinite Wing Wang, he's pretty baller. We got Crumble John. Everybody loves Crumble John. Many chads. Ruka, I would say Ruka is relatively chadly. How are we all doing? Yeah, we're moving pretty good. No crab attacks yet, which is good. How many till this is put together? 41 building conditions, so we need another 30, and then this will be put together and we can drop the gate here. But like I said, we're going to drop our main gate right over this way, and then we're going to feed it up over here and build the city around the gate. And then once we do that, we'll start to dismantle this stuff here and move it over. You know, we're still going to have some mining operations set up around here, but for the most part we'll start to move everything over. On the upside, well, I say upside, it's not actually upside, but you know, we're not producing a ton right now, which is something. Why are you not? Are you actually producing? You are. You're just moving slow as sin. Why is that? 13% working in darkness, and it's low. That's what I'm saying. Like, Agnew resisted being enthralled for 1,000 years. That's the most metal thing I've ever heard, by the way. The most metal. No pun intended, because he's a skeleton, or they are a skeleton, or she's a skeleton. I personally, I don't know about you guys, I am of the mindset that Agnew is a guy. I know that there is, or like identifies as a guy. Technically, Agnew is, genderless. I'm personally of the mindset Agnew identifies as a dude. There's that one particular line where Beep asks if there's any other females, and Agnew, makes that a noise, kind of indicating maybe. I've always personally took that as Agnew just screwing with his best buddy, especially because Beep is known to be so gullible. Not so much like a serious admission of something. Also, on top of that, several other characters refer to Agnew as a he throughout conversation. But, I mean, it could go either way, but I've always personally been of the mindset that Agnew is a dude. That is not good. Not good. Not good at all. So that's not good at all. We're gonna need to get rid of that. Hold on. A lot of people just got messed up from that. Go. That was so bad so quick. I forgot Cat lost an arm too. Yeah, we got to get walled in again fully pretty soon because these crabs, well, they are not particularly hard to kill. They definitely are pretty messy. I will start planting crops as soon as we are walled in. That is the general idea, is to start planting once we're walled in. We've got a steady supply of food and stuff, so it's not an immediate issue. Yeah, I mean, we have a steady supply of food at the moment, so it's not necessarily an immediate concern. Jesus, everybody got really messed up there. Yeah, steady supply of crab meat that is keeping us afloat. We will end up using, making grog and alcohol and all that stuff later on, but for right now, our main focus is staying alive. We've lost 2 dwarves already. So as marked up here, although these are unmarked graves because I didn't put them down before their corpses despawn, but we do have the graves of Gurgle and Azumi up here. Okay, so storm walls are now ready to be placed, so I'm going to start propping those down. Did we not finish yet? I thought we hold on. Yeah, we did. Did I miss them? Walls. Oh, there they are. I was like, where's the storm gate? I specifically researched the storm gate. Drop it right. We're gonna have to build it up here and then move it back using the Shift F12 menu, which is fine. Put one right there. We'll move that back in a minute, and then the next one we're gonna put over here. Storm walls. Gotta get those full segments. I really hate those like tiny little, these like little individual pieces. It's like my least favorite part of doing a build is when I end up getting stuck with those. This lined up as good as I possibly can. I may have to manually move this into place as well. Yeah, so I'll get it built and then I'll shift it over and move it into place. And I'm actually going to leave a little segment out here. Maybe, no. I'm just going to put it in the water a little bit because I am going to do some fishing. And I know technically I don't have to have it in the water for fishing to function properly. But, for the sake of immersion, I want it to at least make sense. Ground needs to be more level. Alright. We'll build to right there for now. It's a little cockeyed. And then we won't worry about it right now, but at some point I'm going to put some watchtowers on the corners here. So like, that's true. We are going to need to get some medicine, start producing some medicine and whatnot so we can properly heal our men. Because right now I'm using really shitey medical resources to, fix the boys that did not, they got kind of pounded out. But, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. This is an idea. Take 2 out. I'm going to place down the blueprints for these. But I'm not actually going to build them quite yet. And my thought, place these up really high. How high can I go on these? A little bit lower. All right. Put these down right here. One right there. And one looks about even, right? Yeah. One right there, because these storm walls don't have proper. I gotta lower this one down a little bit. These storm walls don't have. You can't obviously get on top of them or mount turrets on them or anything like that. So we're gonna need some kind of way to mount something up here. So we're gonna use these towers as the way we're gonna do that. It doesn't need to be perfect, but close enough. Good there. And let's check right here. Command. Boomski, right there. All right, so now we're gonna have these two towers here. Those will act as our main gate, and we'll just basically fire off onto this bridge as they're coming. So that'll be a nice stopgap right there. We'll still have this little gap here and right here, but we'll close those up after we move all this stuff over. This will give us a good start, and then I think maybe we should put a second gate over here. For the sake of getting off onto the island. Otherwise we'll have to go all the way around to do stuff. And to be honest, actually let's move this around a little bit. Right there. You right there. And then we'll put a second gate right here. So, and this isn't going to be like a super, aesthetic base per se. It's going to be aesthetic enough. And we'll end up making it prettier as we go on as well. But right now, I'm not super concerned about aesthetics. More or less getting it to be functional. And we'll deal with aesthetics afterwards. Alright, so that'll hold us off, and then I can delete those two little segments afterwards. This gate isn't so much an actual entrance, it's more or less just for us to get in and out if we go grab resources or anything like that are around here. We want to go check out the lab or anything, because I will have to import on occasion to prevent any crashing as the state goes on, because Kenshi. But, alright, so we're going to hold off production of these two buildings in particular, though. We're going to pause construction because we are not ready for that. And we're just going to go ham on everything else because these are pretty cheap to make. So, and we're going to do the same on this tower. We're going to pause construction for right now and focus on getting the actual wall built up, and also getting these guys recovered. How many? Yeah, we are running low on medical supplies, that's for sure. We're going to have to get this, get these walls up quick so that way we can stop getting attacked by crabs. Once the vast majority of the walls are up, we should be fine, but... Griffin, how are you looking? Yeah, everyone's in a friggin' coma right now. That's great. Nines, what are you doing? Manual iron refinery? You work on that for right now. At least same deal, work on that. Operating machine. What machine are you operating? Ew, I know what machine you were operating, which is fine because you're not doing that anymore. So we're going to have you guys focus on production of building material, buildings. Bosch was getting slightly burned alive, but that's okay. I'll tell you what, there is something magical about twirling your stash throughout the day. It's the stuff of magic, let me tell you. Good, good. Throw Vashu in there. So get these walls built up. See, this is the part of Kenshi that, you know, starts running slow, is when we're doing all this. We're going to have you guys preemptively head over here and take these guys out. Yeah, this is when things slow down, is when you start to put together and compile your base. Cat's up. Got one arm, but he's up. You got to admire that. You know, he's still putting his work in, putting in his time. The old punch in, punch out. Even though he's got one arm. How's this going? It's going. We still have wind power, right? Just a bit. Yeah. How much would it cost to upgrade this thing? Can we? Let's find out. Yeah, fingers crossed. Last time things got freaking wild. You know, they were going so well, and then they weren't. You know what? For the sake of symmetry, no, I mean for the sake not so much symmetry, but for the sake of making the base look interesting, I'm actually going to replace that one with a broken one. I think that would look really cool to have like one fully built up watchtower and then one that's kind of broken. That'd be pretty cool. Shift it up a bit. Plus then I'd have a change in it doesn't make it look so symmetrical, especially because they have that little lip. I would really love these towers far more if they had less of this little lip here. I'm not really a fan of those particular lips there. They really make orienting your tower to be aesthetic difficult, because like it just pokes out and it kind of ruins the ambiance, because if you have two towers like this instead of being towers, it's just like right there. The mongrel thing. So there's a possibility that the residents of Mongrel are aware that the can I pause this? Oh, I don't think I can pause the making of that. That sucks. There's a possibility that the residents of Mongrel are aware of the possibility of contamination, that the area of obedience, being basically a giant crater of molten heavy metal that was melted down, has infected the ground of some kind. It could make crops less edible. Even though they have good fertility, it could be less yieldable, right? The alternative is that many people that live in Mongrel, there may not be that many skilled farmers living there, so they're not able to produce the amount of food they need to, simply by nature of the fact that most people in Mongrel are scavengers and warriors. There's not many tradesmen living in Mongrel. There's that possibility. There's a few reasons that Mongrel could have such a food problem. The other thing is also just that, like, when people go to Mongrel, often they get stuck there, and they only have so much access to so much food at a time because they have a finite amount of space. And people who go to Mongrel don't end up leaving that often, because leaving is just as hard as getting there. So if you manage to get there, you're not very likely to leave there, and the population will continue to grow, and eventually they won't be able to sustain their population, because more, as people come in, they can't leave, not without armed guards or escorts. It's just, there's a possibility that they're just not equipped to handle a continuous stream of population higher than a certain cap. They have a limit on their population that they can handle. And then the possibility that their food is not necessarily as nutritious, or possibly tainted, and so they can only, do so much. They have to rely on certain types of food grown certain types of ways. Or it's just a possibility that they don't necessarily have the skilled tradesmen that they would require to, the skilled farmers and people who are equipped to create a steady supply of food, just by nature of the fact that a lot of people that live in Mongrel are raised as scavengers and warriors, or people that go out in the fogs hunting, or they die, because the fogmen just run in and steal people, So there's a couple reasons that mongrel may not be able to sustain themselves in terms of like food wise. But those ones would be my best guess. That would be my best couple guesses. I don't want to put too many things here. Oh yes, I remember I got this what is it, the CBT training mod, which adds some lighter training things to help train up your men, but not in terms of their attack, not in terms of their dexterity or anything like that. It trains athletics, strength, and toughness, just to get your guys up to speed. So I'm actually going to put a couple of these together too, for the sake of training up some of our guys to be able to run through the bone fields and also not die anymore. So we'll put these together as well. Chin up bar. We do love the chin up bar. I also love this particular mod because it comes with really great animations. Everybody loves a training montage, right? Not in so many words. I don't necessarily think that they would become cannibals. That happened, over a quicker period of time, and also they were dealing with much heavier chemicals. Like to the north of Mongrel, they have obedience, which has heavy metal. So the ground may be tainted with heavy metal, but the issue that happened up in the Cannibal Plains wasn't just heavy metal. There was some serious chemicals at work there. That would have caused like the breakdown, because the area just south of the Cannibal Plains is the Floodlands, which was where the skeletons were made. And I mean, one could only imagine the kind of materials that were being flooded up north. Like it's hold on, I'll show you. I don't think it's a coincidence that there's no fertile land around the Deadlands, because this was where the Deadlands was where they pulled a lot of their resources out of the ground, right? This was where they were pulling oil and materials and stuff out of the ground. Sweet, happy to see you. Thanks for joining us. This was where they were pulling a lot of their materials and stuff out of the ground, was in the Deadlands, right? But it never affected any of the nearby fauna because there is no nearby fauna, right? So the chemicals they were using weren't affecting anything. But then you go up areas over here, like in this area, and you notice that right above where they were using all of those chemicals and stuff that they were pulling out of the Deadlands, they were using all that stuff to manufacture skeletons, to manufacture God knows what else. And then the ground to the north of here is bluish and like has a metallic hue to it, and everyone started eating each other and going insane. So like obedience is metal, but it's not. It doesn't have the type of chemicals that you saw in the Floodlands. So like, I don't know for certain exactly what could be causing the issue here. I don't know if I would say that we have the possibility of like a Fogman cannibal like situation going on. If they were to grow too much food here, I think that whatever is causing the fog itself is originating from obedience. Like just the pattern of it too is weird. It looks like it's almost flowing downward from obedience, but I don't know. There's a lot about the fog itself. It's kind of hard to, decide what the deal is with that. So, nope, we're gonna close you and let you guys deal with that. I'm not gonna let my people get snipped apart by fucking crabs again. Thank you, much appreciated. Always very helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Actually, fun fact, I don't think I've ever gotten, come on. I'm trying to get my stuff to load. Yeah, I've never gotten a super chat before, so thank you so much, Steven. Thank you for $10. That's much appreciated. I appreciate it a lot. Seriously. Thank you so much. Something stuck out to me in my playthroughs are the Ruin Moon Shacks that died around Skimmer's Rome. How old are they and what they were built for? So, those... Alright, so there's two answers for the wooden buildings. One is that they're in the game, so they have to have an in-lore explanation. The out-of-game explanation is that they are leftover assets from the original world that were thrown in there. It's similar to the ruins that you can find over... Like, there's, like, these weird stone brick ruins that you can find right like up in here, right by the Deadlands, and those are old assets from the old world, that like from the game's early development, right? The in-lore explanation for the wooden buildings is just that they were shacks. They're made of wood, so they can't be that old. You know, wooden buildings don't last that long, especially on Kenshi when they're not being preserved. Almost saved the wrong one. When they're not being preserved, you know, properly or anything of the sort. So there is that. Now, chances are they were just. Whoa! What the hell? That was super weird. Anybody else see that? Just the. What the hell? That makes me uncomfy. I don't think I like that. Chances are they're just buildings that somebody, you know, a shack that the Holy Nation built or a farmer built or something like that, and they fell apart. You know, because most of those shacks that I've seen, those little wooden shacks, are around the Holy Nation territory. Chances are they were just Holy Nation territory, or they were little shacks that were built by Holy Nation outlaws or escaped slaves trying to, you know, escape the Holy Nation or set up their own life, or just somebody who went out there and settled. But I don't think it was anything super substantial or, you know, some crazy important civilization or anything of that sort. At least not with the wooden buildings. As for the little stone ones that are left over from the old world, you know, who's to say? Those are probably little First Empire ruins that managed to survive. But the out of lore explanation is they are assets that were left over from the original version of the game, the beta version of the game, and they left them in there, whether it be for as an oversight or, you know, it's kind of a little nod. But that's pretty much it. So anybody who happened to see the poll that I posted today, there's nothing on it yet. I finished up the channel. I am making it, but I am going to be starting a second channel that is going to be primarily focused on Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPGs and content along that lines, because I am a huge TTRPG fan. I've talked about Dungeons and Dragons a few times on my live streams and in my videos. Big D&D fan. I play it like 2-3 times a week as is right now. I've been DMing for almost 15 years now. I've been playing for 16 or 17 years now. Basically since I was about 10 or 11 years old. So huge D&D fan, and I wanted to make a second channel to start making content on D&D. I would put it on the main channel, but I'm algorithmically locked on Kenshi in this particular channel, so I'm going to leave this channel to the Kenshi content, and I'm going to make D&D content on there. So stay tuned. I will be I'll be working on both pretty frequently, but I want to have another channel where I can kind of diversify and do other stuff as well as Kenshi. But I also want to make sure this channel sticks to what it's known for and what it's best at, which is Kenshi content. These particular skeletons are Ironsides. They are from the Ironside. These are my golems for my dwarf playthrough, right? Because if you ever played Dragon Age or Dragon Age Origins, you know that dwarves were big on golems. Which is what the dwarves from Dragon Age Origins were the inspiration for this particular playthrough. So I wanted to have them have golems. So these are the Ironsides from the Ironsides mod by Lord Hapless. Fantastic mod. Hapless is a super talented modder, and I believe he's a YouTuber now. I'm pretty sure he actually left Kenshi modding specifically to pursue a career as a streamer or a YouTuber. So really talented guy. If you get a chance, I would check out him and his stuff. That is Hapless on YouTube. Free plug. He has no idea I'm doing it. I'm happy to do it. Love Hapless. And if you ever see this, buddy, you're a great guy. Love you, my dude. But these are my golems. They are the defenders of the Golem Citadel. They are the first and last line of defense against the major threats that come our way, especially while we're building up our forces and getting our dwarves up to par, because right now we are, frankly, not up to par. I need to get another... Do I have 3 working on this thing? I do. I have all 3. This thing is moving so slow. Can I get a better one? Mining. Stone processor. No, I need to research a better one. but I don't think I have a book, do I? Powered Stone Refinery. There it is. Yeah, I need books. So they are in the system. They are listed as animals, but they do not grow over time. Their stats are dependent both on combat and based on the frame that you put them on. Right. So their frame will change them. So they can have different frames that will change their moves and their abilities and their stats and stuff, as well as their physical loadout, and they have different abilities. So. But they in the system, they are listed as animals for the sake of the custom animations. So they do have a little bit of growth over time in the idea that they become elder, but most of them are elder at the start. So they don't grow any larger or anything like that. Their stats develop via combat and the frame that you put them on. That is a good headcanon. I'm down with that as well, the idea that they are, humans. I think the only thing that might point against it is, again, the idea that the shacks are typically made of wood. But, they're out in the middle of the desert. It's not like there's much rain or anything like that to cause them to naturally erode. So they could very well just be super dry, old pieces of wood. It's not impossible by the slightest means. So that's a solid cannon, and I'm not even gonna try, say one way or the other. I'm down with it. That works for me because we don't really know. Like I said, they're mostly just out of game. They're as leftover assets. So oh yeah, I'm right in the Fishman Isles, right in the Fish Islands. So I am right at the southernmost part of the map. Here is Catan. Travel south, you have the Fish Isles. I will warn you, if you want to start a playthrough at this location, you better bring some serious guns, my friend, because if you snap back to, I think, episode 3 or 4, yeah, you're gonna want to come prepared. You're gonna want to come prepared. Yeah, Lord's Dream, he looks like Eddie Hall. It's really funny. It wasn't the intention, but he definitely looks like tiny Eddie Hall. It's super funny. It's the Mohawk is what it is. It's the Mohawk. Nines, how's your... actually, we're gonna train up Cat. We're gonna get Cat's strength going. One-armed Cat's gonna get some strength rolling. Look at him. His one-arm bench presses. He's a unit. So we're going to get Cat to train that stuff up. Once this gate is built, hopefully they'll focus more on the walls instead of everything else. Downgrade to broken watchtower. Yeah, no, we'll pass on that. All right. Excuse me. It's so dry tonight. Hopefully really cool. It would be nice to see an implementation, because there is that skeleton robotics mod where it adds in like variations of skeletons based on the different types of skeletons that you see in the skeleton limbs that you see in Kenshi 1. So like the one that kind of looks like a rabbit has the scout legs. The KLR rifting arms has the 3 variations of the KLR bots. You have the giant, the red ones whose names I do not remember. That mod, it would be really cool to see them implement like a canonical version of that mod. That would be really cool. So hopefully, fingers crossed on that. It's really cool. Dwarves are doing good. Dwarves are doing good. What texture do you mean specifically? Yeah, what texture do you mean specifically? All of the mods that I'm using here, I've been using for the most part for a very, very long time. It's not in the description of this particular video, but if you go into any of my previous live streams, in the description there is a link to a mod pack collection on the Steam Workshop that has all the mods that I'm using for this particular playthrough. I don't think I have any texture issues. Has anybody noticed any texture issues? I don't think I do. I don't think they're going to get an early access, personally. Kenshi 1 had early access. Kenshi 1 had early access, but it was mostly for crowdfunding purposes. Kenshi 2 doesn't need crowdfunding. To quantify it, think about it this way. Obviously, they still have things like payroll. Obviously, they still have things like development costs and leasing their studio, their office out in Bristol and all that stuff. And however they have expenses. But Kenshi is a $29.99 game, right? It's $30 on Steam. If you assume that they're getting at least $20 from every purchase they make on Steam, even if you give them a bit of wiggle room and assume that a lot of their purchases are from specials or discounts or anything like that, they sold 2 million copies at $30 a piece with a profit. Again, assuming they were $20. If we assume they made $20 on most of them, that's 40 million right there. They don't need crowdfunding. They don't need it. Granted that a lot of that's going to payroll, development costs, marketing campaigns, all that stuff, and that's true. But they made Kenshi 1 on a far smaller budget. They don't need crowdfunding. So I don't think they're going to do an early access. And in the AMA that Chris did several years ago, he said the same thing, pretty much for the same reason. We did it last time for crowdfunding. We don't need the crowdfunding this time. I don't think I'm going to do it. So kind of where we're at with that. I'm actually going to dismantle this because there's no point in having it if I can't build that. Cat, get to work. Training his athletics up. He's got pretty good strength. Good. Everybody's just working out like crazy. I love it. Look at them all. He's so strong that he doesn't even need the pull-up bar. That's how strong he is. It's funny. And we should have a steady supply of food. Yeah, I mean we're loaded with food. We have more food than we can. Literally, they're eating food slower than they can produce it, which is an awesome spot to be, considering that they're only using dried meat as their source of sustenance. So pretty solid on that. This is the slow part of all Kenshi builds when we're trying to put together the base, because right now is when it's just a lot of back and forth. We can't really do much in the interim while we're waiting for things to pick up. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna send. I need to get a backpack at some point for these guys. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna drop you, and we're gonna take Zagan and Griffin, and we're gonna go back over to the Citadel up here, the lab, I mean, and see, because I had to do an import. One downside is that when I'm streaming, because of the I want to make sure that I run into as little crashes or possibility of game corruption, so I have to import basically before every stream, right, to make sure that there's no possibility of corruption, or reduce the possibility of corruption, right, or crashing. So because of that, before every stream I do an import, and that means every stream the Fish Isle town and the island lab are going to be repopulated with fishmen. Not the King Gurgler, thankfully, so they won't be roaming the island anymore, but those settlements will be filled with fishmen again. So we'll have to come back here and re-clear them out, which is always frustrating. However, it does mean that on occasion we can come back here and re-loot this place for books and ancient science books and stuff. It's a little cheesy, but again, it's the only thing I can do to avoid or dodge potential crashing on stream. I really try to avoid it. It's going to happen at some point. It has happened once, I think, in 6 episodes. I did crash on stream, but for the most part, you know, that this is how we avoid that. Thank you for the streamer. If you want to, I mean, for the shader comment, Mikoshi, if you are curious about how to make your game look like mine as well, in the comment section, not the comment section, in the description of my prior streams, and will be on this one as soon as I get a chance to change it over to that, is a couple of links that to a video that both show my my in-game settings as well as the shader settings that I use to make my game look this way. So if you want to make your game look like this, that's a good way to do it. I do have the power and the resources to make it happen. Alright, so we're going to pop in here, and the fishmen will start coming down, so I'm going to have Griffin pop over here and avoid them, and have Zagan do the fighting. Have him just solo them, and well, let me solo her Zagan edition. And while he's doing that, I'm going to grab some of these things. AI core, sweet. Waiting for him to clear some of these up. Yeah. Barely breaking a sweat. Beautiful. It's much different now compared to the first time we fought the fishmen, when it was just corpses piled so high. But it was a rough one, that's for sure. Left leg, that's sort of useful. I also am a huge fan of building massive bases. They just take time, you know. If you watch some of my build videos, though, I've made some pretty large ones. I'm actually putting out a build video again here on Friday. Very excited about it. It's a swamp build, so stay tuned for that. I build a swamper's hashish plantation, and very excited for you guys to see that. I'm very proud of how this one turned out. It's the first ever swamp base I've ever built. I've never based in the swamp before, so I'm very excited to show you guys how I put that one together. That should be coming out Friday. The plan is for it to come out Friday. It might take an extra day just you know, for editing and stuff, but I should have it out on Friday for channel members, and then it'll be out Saturday morning for the public. So stay tuned for that. Alright, all these ancient science books are really cool, but like I need some not ancient science books. That would be great. Just some normal books. Come on. I have too many ancient science books, imagine that. I just need some normal books. Come in. It is curious the number of holy flames that you find around here. You know, I imagine it's just procedurally generated junk, but it does kind of bode some questions as to the possible origins of the fishmen. That was more than I expected to be up there. Alright, we're gonna have Griffin come back down here. 135. Yeah, we're gonna have him drop this. Oh my God, Griffin! Get his ass kicked. No, dude, get over here. Hold. I was not expecting that many of them to be up there. Jesus. Normal science books? Nope, nope, more ancient science books. Don't get me wrong, very happy to have some ancient science books, right? Love the ancient science books. They're great. They're great. Love the ancient science books, but I would really like some normal books. That'd be awesome. I need normal books. And he can't open those, only... God damn it. I need, Oh, 2 AI cores though. That's a fucking win. That's a win. What are the possibility that he can run back here and Vashu can take his place? How quick are you moving? Slow. Not moving fast at all. Alright, Zagan, you're going with him. We'll have to come back a different day. Not that I think there's anything in there worth worth necessarily fighting for at the moment. I think the last large base I made, like the last really large base I made, was in the gut. Yeah, I mean, Cat-Lon was all ego, man. It was all ego. Everything he did was ego. But the other thing to remember, too, is that the experiments that he performed, ultimately, he was imposing recreations of the experiments and the situations that were placed on him and skeleton kind by the First Empire, right? Like, if you follow my recent video on the origins of everything being human, as well as the skeleton mainframe, everything that Cat-Lon did was like nothing the Second Empire did was original, right? They had no unique ideas, and a part of that is in their design for the beings that they had performed these genetic experimentations on. So, like the Shack, one could make the case that they were trying to make humans more resilient, like the skeletons. They were trying to give them a hard outer shell to be more skeleton-like, right? With the Hivers, they were creating that pheromone link that could very well have been a recreation of the old network or the hive mind that the skeletons were a part of. They were creating a workforce that is resistant to the locational damage, the environmental factors of Kenshi, like the skeletons. Skeletons are immune to radiation. They're immune to acid rain, and so are the Hivers. So you realize that like what Cat-Lon was doing was essentially the inverse of what the First Empire, what they accused the First Empire of doing. They accused the First Empire of being human supremacy. Skeletons were tools, and they were trying to prevent the subjugation and in turn enslavement of their people, or stop the subjugation or enslavement of their people, which is why they rebelled and why they ended up destroying the First Empire. And then Cat-Lon comes along and proceeds to do the exact same thing, but instead of the enslavement and subjugation of the skeletons, he does the same thing to the humans. So now he's trying to take humanity and forcibly make them into a superior race by giving them traits of the skeleton people. And all of this starts from ego, which is the whole reason that Cat-Lon even started the Second Empire. He said that he wanted to do it because he was protecting humanity and he wanted to right the wrongs of the past, but that's not what he was doing. I mean, maybe on the surface level, but really all he wanted to do was prove that he could make an empire that was bigger and better than that of the First. That's why he built his capital in the ruins of the First. That's why all of his buildings are repurposed from the ruins of the First. None of their technology is new or unique. He just rebuilt the First Empire with himself at the head. So it was all ego. He was never the hero that they thought he was. Maybe even he thought he was. Maybe to some degree in his mind he was doing what he thinks was morally correct and that he was trying to help humanity, but that's not what he was doing. Let's not ever confuse that. Not that anybody here has. It's just it was all ego. He made an empire out of ego to try and prove that he and the skeletons were better and that they could do what the humans couldn't better. Yeah, I'm really excited to see more indie games beat out AAA games. It's happening like crazy. Just left and right, indie games are beating AAA games out like crazy in recent years, especially in the last like 2 years. I had a fun conversation with somebody the other day who was very annoyed with me that I brought up Baldur's Gate in one of my videos, one of my shorts, because I said that Baldur's Gate was indie, because it is in fact an indie game. People don't like that it's an indie game, but it is. But Baldur's Gate was a massive success for the indie community. It really was. It proved that you don't need a contract with a big publisher, And Helldivers, despite some of the hiccups that they've had, a lot of those hiccups were not the byproduct of the company itself. They were the byproduct of Sony and their contract with Sony. in PlayStation and all that stuff. But I would say that that Helldivers, in spite of their hiccups and the issues that they had with servers and stuff, their communication, customer service, and transparency, especially on the end of the former CEO and current who stepped down willingly to become the one of the chief creative officers, because he wanted to be able to engage and assist the community more. So he stepped down to be in a position where he could be more hands-on and more engaged with the community to assist with the problems. I would say that he is a perfect example of the way CEO should be. You look at games like Pal World, which, despite all the controversy because of the fact that it's literally Pokemon with guns, people were making comments that Pal World. I'm going to do Shift F12 real fast to move this gate back into place here, which is what I planned on doing in the first place, just to make it work like a gate. When people were making comments that people had stopped playing Pal World, he wasn't throwing a fit about it, saying like, this isn't fair, I the whole nine. He said, I get it, I understand, my game has a finite number of things to do. People have already 100%ed it, and we don't have the resources to pump out a brand new piece of content every month or to serialize it like that. But when we do, we hope you guys come back. But, dang it, I knew it was going to happen when I reloaded. No big deal. Boot that back up. That's why we always save. That's why we save. Anyway, yeah, he said that, when new content does come out for my game, I hope you guys come. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys play it. I hope you guys come back to it. And that's the way it should be, A lot of these indie games are doing really good. I don't know what company makes Deep Rock Galactic. Here's what I'll tell you. The easiest way to distinguish an indie game company from any other from a AAA company is this, because this was actually the basis for the conversation that I had the other day, and the individual that I was speaking to got very upset with me that I had the audacity to claim that Baldur's Gate was not a AAA game. But I'll go ahead and explain the exact criteria for what makes a it is when I'm trying to stream, or if it's a really large base or anything like that, late in a playthrough. Yes, I do get a crash on occasion when I try to reload. But it usually only happens when I have a really large base, or if it's an old save, like one that's 55, 60 days in and I'm trying to stream at the same time. I'll get a crash, but no big deal. Easy fix. We just load back in. That's why I usually save right before I reload, because before I do anything that might crash it, because that way I can just load back in and it's seamless, like it didn't happen. But anyway, easiest way to tell the difference. These are the criteria. This is the actual criteria for a AAA game, right? Because a lot of people confuse AAA with just having money, right? And that's not the case. For instance, Larian Studios that built Baldur's Gate had a $100 million budget. Now, that is a lot of money. They also have 400 employees in several locations. But that does not eliminate them from being an independent games developer. That's why when you go to their Wikipedia page, they're listed as independent. That's why when you go to their Steam page, they're listed as independent. That's why any article that you find on Baldur's Gate from back when it came out and everyone was panicking because they literally revolutionized the RPG genre, the isometric RPG genre, and what it means to build a good game, and they were embarrassing the hell out of AAA games, I'll list them as an indie developer, because the criteria for an indie developer is two things. One, they have no contract or no obligation with any mainstream publishing company whatsoever. They don't have a publisher. They self-publish. They are independent from the publishers. Two, their stock is not publicly traded, which means they have no investors and they have no public investors, and they have no obligation to those investors. They are independent from the investors. They are independent from publishing companies. Any investors they have are private investors that are funding them on the back end. But the public, you, me, okay, people that are living out in the world, we're not buying shares in their company. They are independently funded. They are funded by themselves and by private investors, but their stock is not publicly traded. Those are the two things. If they make those two things, you could have a company that is worth $500 billion in the game development, right? But if they are not, if they're self-publishing, they do not have a contract with a publisher, and their stock is not publicly traded, they are considered an indie developer. Size, quality means nothing. The argument that I had the other day was somebody was irritated that I said Baldur's Gate was an indie developer because they made a game that was AAA quality and they have a lot of money and they have several studios. But that kind of is, in my opinion, is disrespectful to indie developers because it's saying, hey, you're not allowed to be successful because if you do, you're no longer an indie developer. If you're successful, if you make a game that isn't crap, you're not an indie developer. If you make money, if you succeed in the market, you're not an indie developer anymore. That's not true. That's not true. Offhand, I don't know. I'd have to look up the studios that make them or the studios that that put them together and research them. But if they don't have publicly traded stock, if they are not publicly traded stock and they are not tied to a publisher, if they self-publish, they're an indie company. That's it. It's not not to be too matter of fact. I try to give everyone leeway and whatnot, but that is what it is. It's not a matter of debate. That's what it is. If your stock is private and your company is self-publishing, if you're not tied to a publisher, you're an indie game studio. That's it. Regardless of money, regardless of quality, regardless of size. Those are the qualifications. So, you missed me going on a tirade about indie game studios. And not about them, but about the qualifications for what is the difference between AAA and independent game studios. Specifically in regards to why Baldur's Gate 3 and Larian is an indie game made by an indie game studio, despite the fact that they are successful, have a lot of money, and have several studios open. In spite of that, they are an indie game studio. Because that's not a qualification. Right. And so, the idea is, if you go to Google and you search, what is the definition of an indie game studio, you're going to come up with three things. You're going to come up with the two things that I just said, which are publicly traded stock and publishing companies. And then you're going to come up with a second answer, which is an opinionated answer. And it clearly says it in the form of an opinionated answer, which is indie games are typically considered small studios of 5 to 10 people. Typically considered. But that's just what the public considers indie. That doesn't mean they're not independent if you have more than that. Look at Lo-Fi, for instance. They started out with one person. Now they have 33. Does that mean they're not an indie studio anymore? No. That doesn't make sense. They're an independent studio. Size has nothing to do with it. Money has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with how you're publishing your game and if your stock is public. Because if your stock is public, then you have investors, right? And if you have investors, that means that you have obligations to those investors. And if you have obligations to the investors, you're not independent anymore because you're being funded by an outside source. If you have a contract with a publishing company, you have a contract that means that you have to have the game finished by a select day. You have to have the game finished by a select day. You have to deliver on certain promises. You are not independently producing your game anymore. You have obligations to an outside studio, an outside company, a third party. You're not independent anymore. That's why those are the two things that make an independent game studio. Is because if your stock isn't public and you don't have a publisher, you're responsible for your game. Everything you do is on you. You have no obligations to the public. You have no obligations to a publisher. You have no obligations to investors because you have none of those things. What am I going to do for my content for D&D? So I actually have a couple of things. So I've been playing D&D for 15. I've been DMing for 15 years and I've been playing for 12 years. 11 or 12 years. I've been playing since I was about 11 or 12 years old. So I've been playing for a long time. I'm 27 now. So I'm going to do a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to do some, the standard RPG horror stories. I want to read off on other people's RPG horror stories. That's very simple content. It's easy to produce. I enjoy it. I like telling stories for D&D. I also really like voice work. I really like doing narrations and stuff. That was actually what I originally started my channel doing, was doing narrations and narrating stories and stuff. But at the time, I didn't have the equipment and the experience to produce the kind of quality that I find acceptable, right? Because I have a really large issue with producing subpar quality work. Now I'm more experienced, I'm older, I have a better idea of how to do my narrations. I think my voice is adapted better to doing it. And so I want to move forward with doing that. So I'm going to be telling RPG stories, stories that I've plucked on Reddit, stories that I've plucked on forums, stories that people send me. And then aside from that, I'm also going to be talking about the game itself, about TTRPGs, doing character builds, doing classes, talking about campaigns, tips and tricks for DMs, tips and tricks for players, first-time DMs, first-time players, campaign building. I'm going to end up, I actually have 4 or 5 sessions of a campaign that I'm currently playing in right now, recorded, that I plan on, maybe eventually uploading or doing a retelling of, telling stories about my own campaigns and my experience. I just wanted to have a channel that is centered around D&D, centered around TTRPGs in general. I have tons of characters. I have so many D&D characters. It's not even funny. I've made many characters over the years. So, and I would love to be able to share those with people and talk about my experiences DMing and my experiences playing D&D, because it's one of my favorite things. I play it 2-3 times a week. I've been in several campaigns. I've been DMing a campaign for a group of 6 for the last year and change now. I've been playing in a new campaign with my buddy Lucas for I think this is going on about 2 months now. It's his first time DMing. We're doing Discord D&D, and it's been fantastic. And I might be doing a retelling of that. It's a homebrew. It's a 5e campaign based in 5e book rules, but it's a homebrew campaign set in the setting of the world of Drakenheim. My favorite module for D&D, if that's what you're asking, my favorite module is Curse of Strahd, hands down. Curse of Strahd. I think it is it's such a basic module because it's everyone's favorite, but it's so fucking good. It's so good. I love Curse of Strahd. I think it's a fantastic module, beautifully written. There's a couple things about it I don't like that I change out whenever I play it, like the Gertruda thing. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, not a fan of having underage girls nailing 500-year-old men. Not really a fan of that, so I got rid of that from the official module. But excluding things like that, is there. So I have a couple. I have a couple really unique characters that I enjoyed. I'd say my most unique character would be Ronk the Machine, High Paladin of the Machine. I made a orc about, I think, 8 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago. He was a full-blooded orc that had most of his body destroyed in some kind of martial conflict, right, in his homeland. And he, lost a portion of his jaw, he lost one of his arms, both of his legs. He was completely messed up, and so they tried to rebuild him using Warforged technology. So he had all these like cybernetic limbs and like a metal jaw, and one of his eyes was like patched over with like, but it's scrap work too. So it's like Warforged, but it's kind of scrappy, right? So it doesn't look like it's like super high tech or cybernetic. It looks more like it's scrapped together tinkering that you'd find from like a goblin tinkerer. And he has all these limbs and stuff that were replaced. But one of the things they did was they wanted to create an orc that was both physically as strong as an orc and as martially competent as an orc, but they also wanted him to be incredibly intelligent. So they put a supercomputer, a Warforged brain, like a supercomputer brain, into his head. And the intent was to make him super intelligent. However, it didn't like meld with his personality or his brain, so he woke up and he was still like an unintelligent orc. The difference was that now he had this supercomputer in his brain that was basically feeding him instructions and talking to him in his head. And so he heard this voice in his head. But he's so dumb because he has like an intelligence of 20 on paper, but his intelligence as a person, it wasn't actually 20. I think it was like a 16 or 17 on paper. But his intelligence as an actual orc was only like 7, right? He was 6 or 7. He was not smart. But so the supercomputer is feeding him information in his head. And he's so dumb that he thinks that the voice in his head is a god called the Machine. And so he ended up pledging himself and creating an oath to uphold the Machine. And so he became Ronk the Machine, High Paladin of the Machine, and he's actually secretly, like inadvertently, worshipping the computer that's in his head that he thinks is a god, and it's not even a god, it's a computer. And he's also hyper intelligent, but he's so stupid he can't verbally like articulate the things he's doing. So the example I always use is that he could build you a rocket to fly to space, but he would describe it as he made the boom boom stick go pow, because he's too dumb to know how to explain what he's doing, but the computer is showing him how to do it. And so he also thinks the machine is a god, so he's going around like preaching the machine. And I got it by mixing a couple different ideas. I remember I heard Bert Kreschner's story about the machine, and I was like, the machine, right? So that made me giggle. And then I also remember playing Shadow of War when it came out. So this was 2016. It must have been 2016 because Shadow of War came out in 2016. When Shadow of War came out, there was a particular orc called the Machine where you chop his body up and he'd come back with like rudimentary cybernetics. And I was like, oh my god, what if he just walked around going to people being like, have you heard of the Machine? And he's like, oh, you've never heard of the Machine. Let me praise high word of the Machine. And he's like, he thinks that this is a god everybody knows. And it's not. It's a computer in his head, and he's just too stupid to know the difference. So that was probably one of my most unique characters. I got a really good giggle out of Ronk. And he's popped up a couple of times in campaigns. I've used him as like an NPC a few times, just for like to move the plot along or exposition or anything like that. He's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite characters I've ever played, Ronk the Machine. And then my other one is Comain, which he was actually one of my solo D&D characters that I played. It's a really good game. You know, it got flack early on because of the microtransactions, and as it should have, because that 2016 was like, between 2016 and 2021 was like the 5-year period where gaming was, I would say, at its lowest. We were getting fed absolute garbage games, and they were just filled to the brim with microtransactions. They were just shafting you for every dime they could get from you. And we thankfully the community, the gaming community as a whole, has finally, over the last 2-3 years, with the help of these indie games that have been coming out, have started to step up and really put their foot down on that crap, thankfully, because holy shit, it was awful. Every game was just filled with microtransactions. There was no quality. The writing was subpar and garbage. They were jamming crap into your games that didn't need to be there. Gaming should be about sitting down and immersing yourself in a story in another world, right? Like, I work a very stressful job. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I have a lot of social obligations, family. I have my own problems. When I come home and sit down, I don't want to be taught a lesson. I'm going to level with you. I don't want to be taught a lesson. When I want to play my games, I don't want to be taught a lesson. I don't want to hear about any of that crap. I want consistency. I want good writing, and I want a good game. If you have something in there that needs to be in there for the sake of the story or the plot to progress, put it in there. But if it doesn't need to be in there, if you're putting it in there just so you can nod your head at, a person, a group of people, an idea, anything like that, it doesn't need to be in there. It doesn't need to be in there. Who are you saving? Who are you helping with this? You're not. Just make a game with a good story. Make everything connected, right? That's the joy of stories, is that everything is connected. It makes sense. Story has logic, rules, structure, likable leading men, or likable leading women, or characters that have importance to the plot and the story. The point of gaming is to have something better than real life, to experience something, a world that you in reality would not be able to experience, right? I can't go out and fight a dragon. I can't go out and save a country. I'm one dude. I'm a 27-year-old freaking dude with a curly mustache. I'm not going to go change the world. But in a game, I can do that. And by trying to ground it in reality, all you're doing is devaluing what the game is supposed to be. Give me my escape. I don't want reality right now. I want to sit down and enjoy someone else's world and pretend that for 5 seconds I'm somebody else and I'm someone far more important than I am. And in recent years, they've tried to take that away, and instead it's become just another method, another ability to open up your wallet and try to suck every bit of funnage they got out of you, while ignoring the fact that we can barely afford to feed ourselves and provide for our families, but let's just milk the hell out of us for as much money as possible for no reason, and at the same time giving us like crap. I'm happy to pay $60 for a great game. I'll pay $60 for Elden Ring and $40 for their DLC, hands down, because Miyazaki's going to give me a story I can deal with and I like, and gameplay that is solid as hell. I'm not going to pay $70 for your virtued crap that has no story, no content, no heart, no soul, and is supposed to teach me a lesson that I frankly don't give a flying shit about. You know, I just want a good experience. I don't want a lesson. And some of those lessons are important. I'm not saying they don't have value, but they don't have value in games. You know, they don't need to be in the game. When I watch the news, when I'm at work, when I'm doing all that stuff, that's when those things are more important. When they affect reality. My game should not be affecting my reality. You know, back in the day, if your game was affecting your reality, we call that an addiction. That was a problem. You needed to be dealt with. You needed to seek help. If your games were affecting your reality, that was a problem. Now it's somehow expected, and that's not okay. There was a point in time, and I honestly think that it really... Because here's the thing. Let me be honest with you, too. Gaming has always been a very controversial space in terms of, like, quality of the games being put out, right? The difference is that now in the age of the internet, in the age of technology that we're in, people are more... Why are you not... Are you not eating, Griffin? Do you not feel the need to eat food? There's plenty of food. Ew, he can't eat food. That's right. There's no room for him to eat food. You know, like, anybody who's played any games on, like, the N64 or Super Nintendo or any of those old school games, any of those games back in the day, a lot of them were shit. They were crap, right? They were absolute garbage. But we didn't know any better. And we also had no room to complain. There was no forum to complain about this. We were lucky that these developers were giving us anything because there was no public forum for us to speak out and say what we wanted to say, right? You couldn't go online, and even when you could, it didn't matter. It didn't really pick up until the late 2000s. But you couldn't go online and throw a tantrum that the game was garbage and create a movement to try and get all the people who developed the game destroyed and their jobs thrown out. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm going off. You know, you couldn't go out and create a forum and destroy the jobs of the people who made the game, even though 9 times out of 10 it isn't actually their fault. It's the fault of the publishers who give them unrealistic goals and tell them they have to serialize a game and throw it out within a year, even though they know damn well that the game isn't going to be ready in a year. And when they push back, they end up getting fined all holy hell. And you didn't have to worry about, people that go online chronically and just complain for the sake of complaining, and the loud majority versus the loud minority versus the silent majority. You didn't have to worry about any of this stuff because you put out a game, people would buy it, and if it was bad, it was bad. They put it down, they wouldn't play it, or even more, they'd play it until they had Stockholm syndrome and they think that they liked it. And that happened with a lot of games. Anybody who's ever played Ghostbusters on the NES, they know, on the original NES, they know it's not good. It's bad. Anybody who ever played Glover, right? I think AVGN just did a video on Glover the other day. It's bad. It's not good. Crap game. But people played it because we didn't know any better. So I'm not going to say that games have gotten worse over the years as time has progressed, because games have always had a large majority of them being bad, and then you get the diamond in the rough that come out. The difference is that now people have the ability to influence these companies to not put out crap. They can. There's actual backlash that happens when they put out crap. I will say that oftentimes that backlash is on people who don't deserve it. The developers are not the ones who should be ripped apart for this stuff. More often than not, it is not the developer's fault. It's higher than that, right? Especially for these AAA companies. It's not the dev team's fault. It's not the writing team's fault. It's none of them. It's the people above that are writing, that are doing the checks and balances. It's the people above that are setting the deadlines, that are working these people into the dirt, into the ground, that care more about profit than they do about the quality of your game. Those are the ones that should be held accountable. But the quality of gaming has never changed. It's always been for every good game you get 5-6 crap ones. But my real issue didn't come with crap games. It came when you started to see more milking for money. When DLC started to pop off, when people started, when DLC started to pop off, when microtransactions started to happen. This was like I think it started around 2014 is when it really started to pick up, and 2016 it was at its worst. When governments have to make legislation and laws, when actual governments have to come together and decide whether or not your game is illegal gambling, if you are marketing to a demographic of people and destroying lives because you're creating a system of basically gotcha, where people are dumping in their hard-earned savings to your game that they already paid $70 for, but you just want to shaft them for every bit of money they got. That's a problem, you know. And I'm glad to see that in recent years, between 2021 and now, that's getting better. That's not happening as much. The games that now a game comes out with microtransactions and people throw a huge fit. They don't want nothing to do with it. They loot the hell out of it. They're not for it, and as they should. You know, cost of living is terrible right now. I can't afford a $70 game and then have to pay $30 of microtransactions just to enjoy myself. Come on. You know. Thank you, Michael, for the membership. Welcome to the Mad Lads Guild. I do appreciate your patronage. I apologize for the brief time it took me to address your membership. I was on a bit of a tirade there. I do those sometimes, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have I thought about the lore around the planetary system of Kenshi? A little bit. I addressed it a tiny bit in my Origins of the First Empire video, not the whole story of the First Empire video, the one that's specifically titled The Origins of the First Empire, where I speculate, you know, where the First Empire came from, what their... yes, Dragon's Dogma is one of the ones I'm talking about. Not okay. You know, where the First Empire may have come from, what their history may have been, is the possibility of them being, you know, a spacefaring civilization, were they a slave colony, were they a prison race, were they a workforce, were they escaping the death of their planet, were they escaping the fall of their civilization, did they leave and their civilization fell apart? There's a lot of things to consider, but in that I did talk briefly about the planetary system, and I also did a little bit on my AMA on Reddit where I talked about the situation involving tidal locked moons and stuff, and I'd have to go back because there was a lot of science and stuff that I had put together on that particular response. I can pull it up and read it, but I did talk about it on my lore AMA that I did back in April for when they did the release of the free camera mode, and I worked with Lo-Fi on that. So but it's water. It's just water. Hold on. You can see it just a little bit on like mountains and stuff. You see, yeah, see right there. It's just water. That's all it is. So, and you can do that with the free camera mode. So, thank you. I appreciate the sub and the lore. I love making lore content. It's one of the things that makes me happy. You know, and that's part of the reason why I want to make the second channel for D&D stuff, is because I want to keep this channel pure, as it say. You know, the algorithm feeds you guys Kenshi lore, and if I start putting other stuff in there, the content I put's not going to get views. You guys aren't going to get as much Kenshi lore content. There's going to be other stuff in between. It could screw up the algorithm, so it's easier to make a second channel where I get to do my D&D stuff and my non-Kenshi stuff, and then keep this channel pure to Kenshi. So I appreciate the compliment, though. I put a lot of effort into my lore and my theory videos. There's probably another continent on Kenshi. If you look, there's in some of the tech hunters and the old bases, you can find what's called the old map, and it says like, oh, this looks like it was an old map that. We're gonna put you here. There's no iron for you to refine right now. It looks like this is an old map with a continent that probably doesn't exist, right? Like it uses the excuse that the continent it's talking about or it's referencing in the map doesn't exist, but it probably does. And we, you know, based on our AMA with Chris that we had a couple of years ago on Reddit, we can assume, he said there's going to be new lands to explore, that we're probably going to get to go to a new continent, and it's probably going to be by nature of the boats, or it's going to be by, there's also the possibility that if, one of the theories that I had brought up previously about the redacted feature was that we might be getting an underground like a cave system, and so we may have underground locations as well. But the chance of there being a continent, it's probable. I have taken a look at those kaiju a lot. I've talked about them at length in several of my videos. Those were the kaiju that fought the behemoths fought. Those are more likely the beings that the behemoths were created to fight. For that, as for the second channel, it is up. There is no content on it yet. If you want to search it up, it's called the Hero Table. I think it's got 11 subs right now. That's about it. No content on it. It is recognizable. It's got the profile picture is me in my Ren Fair attire from a couple of years, I think from last year, with my sword and my horn and all that stuff. So, and the same vector style as my current profile picture, but it is there. It's called, like I said, it's called the Hero Table, and I should have content starting to come up on that channel starting next week. And my goal is to make just a shit ton of them and have them scheduled to release, because it's a lot easier content to make too. So I'll be pumping out more regular content on that channel, and then I'll have like really good quality Kenshi content coming out on this one as well. But there'll be a bit more of a gap than on the D&D content channel than there is on this one. Flip that. There'll be more of a gap on here than there is on the D&D content channel, because the D&D stuff is easier to make as a whole. So I can make more of it at once. Whereas this stuff usually takes me 3 days to put together a full video and a theory between footage, editing, and audio. And, creating the theory. Wow, I'm doing a lot more talking on this one than I expected to. Okay. Do we have any theories on what the best outcome for Kenshi is lore-wise? No, because in all honesty, I think that in terms of civilizations, they're screwed. I think best outcome would be, ideally everybody would be able to put their differences aside and figure their shit out. But, they're really divided, and I think I could come up with it individually, like what the best thing for each faction is in terms of like what would make them better, both morally and in the long term. Like, for instance, the Holy Nation would firstly, they need a new Phoenix, which means the current Phoenix has to die. A lot of people don't know how the Holy Phoenix gets chosen. So when the current Lord Phoenix dies, the firstborn male after the Phoenix dies becomes the new Phoenix. The idea is that, like, he died, the first male to be born after his death is like the rebirth, the reincarnation. He was born from the ashes of the dead Phoenix, and he comes back. They need a new Phoenix. Now, the reason this Phoenix is so shitey in comparison to the other Phoenixes in the past, because we do know that historically there was a point in time when the Phoenixes of the past were not so aggressive, they were not so militaristic, they were not so violent. And that's not even just like my opinion. Even Maul and the Flotsam Ninja, who are the ones that have the most room to talk about the matter, acknowledge that there was a point in time when the impression was much better. They were still oppressed, but it was much better. And the Holy Nation, for the largest part of for the majority of their history, were isolationists. They were not the violent Holy Nation that we are familiar with. I apologize if there's not much happening on the game right now. I'm literally just waiting for these walls to build, but it's taking forever. They were isolationists. They attacked if you came into their territory, but they weren't going out seeking combat until recently. Even the Holy Nation Czech War was a more recent event with the current Phoenix. It wasn't, something that happened, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It happened relatively recently. So the Phoenix needs to die. The reason why he's so violent, though, is because when this current Phoenix was born, the clergy took him in, and the current heads of the Church of Okran, basically, like, indoctrinated the hell out of him for their ideals into what they thought the Holy Lord Phoenix should be doing. This group of clergymen were like, hey, we've been sitting inside this area of Okran's Holy Land for 1,000 years, and we haven't, I think it's time that we go out and we eliminate the spawns and scourge of Narco. I think it's time that we eliminate them from the face of Kenshi. They're a problem. Let's get rid of them. And you know, they indoctrinated the hell out of him. They turned him into this religious, angry zealot, even more than the rest of them. And as a result of that bled over into his people. So first things first, you want to fix the Holy Nation, you need to get rid of the current Phoenix. You need a new Phoenix. You need to make sure that the current heads of the church, the priests and all that stuff, do not get their hands on him. And if they need to be wiped, they need to be wiped. But you're not going to be able to do that until the Phoenix says so, because the only person that can dictate whether or not the clergy are corrupted would be the Phoenix. So you need to keep the Phoenix away from the priest. I don't know how you do that, but they need to be kept away from the priest, or at least the current group of priests. They need to be raised morally and ethically. And the truth is, the Holy Nation could be fixed like that if they got a Phoenix that wanted to fix it, because his word is law. Everything he says is what happens. End of story. No ifs, ands, or buts. If the Phoenix came out, granted, I don't think he should do it all at once. If he came out and was like, we're going to treat all of our women perfect, we're going to stop attacking the Shek, we're going to make peace with all this stuff, that wouldn't go very well. The clergy would probably accuse him of being possessed by narco, and they'd have some kind of revolt against him. They'd have to drive the evil from him, and he would die, and then they'd replace him with a new Phoenix that they can indoctrinate. It would have to be a very slow transition. Not that I want it to be, but it'd have to be. He'd have to start by, increasing the rights of the women, increasing the mobility of people. He'd have to start by trying to talk with Asada and make some kind of peace with Asada, brokering peace with the United Cities, although I don't see that going very well, because the UC is just as bad and far less able to be talked to. At least with the Holy Nation, you have to convince one man. With the UC, you got to convince everybody, and also deal with the political scheming and the backstabbing that's happening from all the nobles. So I don't see that happening, but he'd have to do it in a very slow type of way. And if he made those slow transitions, and then one of those transitions was, hey, the clergy are corrupted, they're power hungry. That's really what it is. They're corrupted. They're power hungry. They want to control the Holy Nation from the shadows. If the Phoenix recognized that and wiped them out and wiped the slate clean and started with a fresh group, and then instilled new laws, new tenets, and said, you know what, the old clergy was corrupt, our system wasn't working, we created a corrupt clergy, we created a corrupt priesthood, wiped the slate clean, these are the new laws, follow the shit that I say, the Holy Nation would be fixed. They could do it in a generation. Honestly, if you got a good Phoenix in there, they could fix it in a generation. What was he doing? Oh yeah, I was looking at the possibility of adding a tower right here. Watchtower. Yeah, they could easily fix it in a generation, hands down. Provided, again, they, wanted to. There we go. Put that there, and we're going to pause construction on you as well, because they'll add those iron plates, and then we'll go from there. Gotta get the rest of these walls built before I start focusing on towers and stuff like that, and I gotta do one watchtower at a time, otherwise it's going to be a pain in the ass. Shek Kingdom, Asada's on the right track. The problem is that they are incredibly upset with her. She did exactly what I'm worried that the Phoenix would do if they had a reform. Because here's the thing: the Holy Nation is based on medieval, feudal, medieval England with one ruler chosen by God. The medieval European nations, pre-Reformation of Christianity, so Old Testament Christianity, right? And similarly to Christianity, if the Holy Nation went through a Reformation where they changed the tenets, it would remove a lot of the more violent, terrible aspects of it, and you'd end up with a much more toned-down religion comparatively to that of the Old Testament, which was a lot more draconian in their methodology. But if you do it all at once, you end up with rebellions, you end up with splinter factions, you end up with a lot of issues, and that's what happened with Asada. She took over from King Shagger, and she completely stopped their current way of life and tried to implement a new system. And, we can see very clearly how that's going for her, you know. Now she has the berserkers who want to go back to the tribal, back to the way Shek were when they were tribals before, you know, Krull united them. You have Krull's chosen who want to basically follow the rule of King Shagger, even though he's dead. The Iron Bull, or not Iron Bull, Flying Bull, it was his second in command. They want to basically restore King Shagger's rule and fight against the Ochre Knights. And then you have the Band of Bones, which are similar to the berserkers, but they have they don't want to go back to the tribal system. They're just exiles like the berserkers, right? So Band of Bones are exiles. The berserkers are followers of the old ways, the tribal ways, and the Krull's chosen are followers of the middle ways, which are the doctrine of King Shagger and something closer to the word of Krull. Asada basically disenfranchised all three of those groups at the same time. And as a result, her faction was splintered. So she had the right idea. I think that she had the right idea on how to fix the Shek, but she tried to do it too quickly, and she ended up pissing off the majority of the faction. That's why ultimately I think that she's screwed. I think that if she had done this in a much slower way, or a much different way, if she was just like, hey, we can't fight the Holy Nation right now, that would have been that. But then she stopped a lot of the other things that were going on as well. She stomped out, she kind of backed up on a lot of the things that make the Shek, and as a result, they fucking they don't really like working under her anymore. So fixing the Shek is kind of difficult because of where they are currently. If they can survive this bout and not get killed in the long run, then maybe they'll have a chance, but it really comes down to whether or not Asada can reunite the Shek. So if Asada's capable of taking out Flying Bull, if Asada's capable, she is capable of taking out the Band of Bones, she just doesn't for whatever reason. And if she can, deal with them, she doesn't really have to worry about the Berserkers. They pretty much mind their own business. But if she can reunite the Krull's Chosen, reunite with Flying Bull, reunite the Band of Bones, let them back into the fold, give them their honor back, then she has a chance. I think the best thing for the Shek would be to re-implement some of the people who were exiled for stupid reasons. Like, take Ruka. She survived. Her crime was surviving. She didn't die. That's what she did. And they cut her horns off and they told her she wasn't allowed to be a warrior anymore. You suck. You didn't die. They need to knock that shit off. If they stop doing that, and they do much better, because people would, like, I mean, here's the thing: the Shek are a warrior culture; they're an honor culture. So in their mind, the ones that are getting removed, are disgraced. But they're disgraced because that's what the law of Krull says. But the ones that are actually being removed, not the ones that are doing the removing, they're like, I'm still a capable warrior. I'm still capable of fighting, right? Like, who fucking cares if I survive? I survived so I can go on and fight more enemies. I can fight more glorious battle. I think it's kind of the same thing. They just need a reformation of their beliefs, right? Get away from this whole dying an honorable death and instead create a culture around fighting in honorable battles and like fighting long honorable battles, right? Create a culture of, instead of dying in war regardless of age, create a culture of surviving till old age. So think like the orcs from Skyrim. Now, they have their own situation going on of why they're not successful, but it has nothing to do with their culture and everything to do with the fact that they were cursed. If you take that out of the way, have it just so that when the Shek get old, they go off and they find honorable death elsewhere. But don't disgrace the ones that survive conflict. You're literally taking your fighters, your survivors, right? You're taking your best warriors, the ones that can survive, not the ones that win every fight, the ones that survive, and you're you're flipping them the bird. It's so stupid. It's not good. It's no good. It's not good. It's just not good. It's just not good. Also, I put this out a short before, but not many people saw it because my shorts usually only get 200-300 views. I think, hypothetically, the Holy Nation and the Shek Kingdom, if they were to put down their hatred of one another for just a minute, not even on the surface, they can hate each other all they want, right? If they put down their outward want to murder each other, they could hypothetically create a very, very prosperous, united civilization between the two of them, where they both get what they want, right? The Holy Nation thinks that the Shek are the children of the devil. The Shek want to kill the Ochre Knights, and the Shek want to kill the Ochre Knights, but they mostly just want to die in glorious battle, an honorable battle, right? So here's what they do. The Holy Nation stops trying to kill the Shek. The Shek stop trying to kill the Holy Nation. Instead, they integrate the Shek into their culture. Right? They integrate them into their culture. They treat the Shek with respect in their position, so that way the Shek don't have open conflict with them, right? They treat them with respect. They create an arena, a big-ass coliseum, where Shek can fight beasts and other Shek and challengers and all manner of stuff for sport, similar to the gladiators of the Coliseum. That way the Shek get to have their lust for battle against strong, worthy opponents. The Holy Nation get to watch the Shek die, the children of Narco fight in these arenas. And it's a win-win, right? And then the Shek that survive can be treated with, respect and dignity, and eventually they can go off and do that. They can challenge people to open conflict. They provide entertainment, which increases morale in the Holy Nation, increases general happiness in the Holy Nation. The Shek get to have their honorable death that they want. They get to fight a glorious battle in a massive arena while building status and honor and loyalty. It's a fantastic idea. And then, even better, you put the Shek that don't necessarily want to participate in the arena, or the Shek that have earned themselves in the arena, you put them in your military force as the vanguard, right? The ones you send in first, the first in, last out, the Marines of the Holy Nation. And you send them into conflict first, so that they get to fight on behalf of their people, fight in their wars, have their glorious battle, die their glorious death. More Holy Nation civilians survive. More Holy Nation civilians, soldiers survive. So less Ochre Knight blood is being spilled. The Shek get what they want, and all it would take is the Holy Nation treating the Shek that are in their borders with the respect and civility, because they know at some point they're going to die anyway, and everything was there. Like, all it would take is just them tolerating each other. That's it. And they could have this. They could fix this whole thing. They don't even need to actually support or protect or anything of the sort. They just need to tolerate each other long enough to let the Shek do what they want, to do what they need to do. It would be both. But the problem is trying to get both the Shek and the Holy Nation to put down both their hatred for each other and just their general predisposition for xenophobia and racism and prejudice against the opposing races, because they're both super racist, right? They're both super xenophobic. Getting them to put that down for 5 seconds would never happen. And under the current Phoenix's rule, even associating with them, even if it was in a facet similar to this, where they're ultimately getting what they want, it's just they're playing a long game, a more strategic game, and a game that ultimately would benefit both parties far more, both from a moral standpoint, an economic standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, and from a civilian like happiness standpoint, just from the people that live in the Holy Nation, the people that live in the Shek Kingdom. Even though it would benefit them both more, they're so obsessed with their feud and their hate for each other that would never happen. But if they did that, it'd be best of both worlds, and it'd be so. Everybody get what they want. Everybody get what they want. It'll be the long game. That's the smart game. But instead, they just want to blindly murder each other and wipe each other out. So. As for fixing the UC, you need to wipe out all the nobles. You need to. This is the only time that I think I'll ever advocate for this particularly, because it's not my personal beliefs don't line with this particular line of thinking. But you need to eliminate the nobility. You need to redistribute the stolen wealth from the nobility, because the nobility control pretty much 99% of the wealth. You need to redistribute it amongst the people, focus on economic growth, unite the cities instead of having independent city-states, because the United Cities is not a one faction. It's not like one individual faction. It's really just a conglomerate of city-states. It functions very similarly to feudal Japan, where every single city-state was controlled by their individual daimyo, and while they technically answered to the emperor, they were really just kept in line by the shogunate. The emperor being Tengu, the shogunate being Igor. So, but the nobles do what they want. They run their territories how they want. They don't have to follow. No, not a communist state. Not a communist state. This is not a permanent switch over, especially because communism is not a long form. Not a communist state. No. I'm not suggesting an oligarchy. I'm suggesting that they essentially wipe the slate clean and get rid of the current nobility, take the wealth that the nobility has been hoarding across the various city-states, focus it into a centralized government instead of independent governments that are all collective under one banner, and create a functioning republic. Not what they have right now. What they have now is an independent conglomerate of city-states run in various economic formations, all sharing a singular economy under the collective banner of the United Cities being ruled by the alleged emperor, but they're really not being ruled by the emperor. The nobles control everything, and Igor keeps them relatively in line, but the emperor is a joke. And I'm not suggesting democracy either. I'm suggesting a republic. Surprisingly, the two are different. They are not the same. I'm not suggesting a democracy. The only way that the United States would stand a chance would be to wipe out the nobility, form a centralized government where none of the cities have an individual ruler, and instead they all have a collective government that rules over all of the cities in the form of a republic. Not a democracy. Democracy and republic are not the same thing. That's American education system, unfortunately, has failed us in the idea of thinking that they are the same thing. They are not. Yeah, so basically so essentially the idea is you want to create a republic, right? And so the difference between a republic and a democracy is that the republic, a lot of people think that it's the left or the right. I'm not going to get super political on this because I don't want to talk about real world politics on here. But similar to the Republic of Rome, not the democratic Rome, because they are very different, right? In a democracy, it's the rule of the people, which sounds great. The problem is that the masses are idiots and they can be bought. Masses are asses. The reason why they say that for a reason. The best example I can think of is that if you have a democracy is not real. Democracy is the transition from a republic to an oligarchy. It's the transition from a centralized government where it's the transition from a 50-50 split of government control between the people and the government to a small group of people have control of everything. Democracy is not an actual form of government. It's a transitionary period. It has never worked historically in any system. Not long period for that matter. When in the U.S. in particular, when the U.S. was founded, it was founded specifically on the pretense of being a republic. It was never supposed to be a democracy. It's never been a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, and it's a constitutional republic. Not a democracy. The difference is that in a democracy, it's the rule of the people. The people have the rule. And the idea is that if the majority of the people vote one way, that should be the right thing because it's what the people want. The problem is that people are easily bought. People are easily swayed, right? And so if you have one person that people think are guilty, even if the evidence isn't for that, and we see this happen all the time where the public jumps the gun and goes after someone that maybe isn't necessarily guilty of something. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, but they jump the gun prior to having any evidence. They refuse to change their mind, and someone gets, lambasted before any of the actual facts have come out. And, sometimes the facts point to that they did it, sometimes the facts point to that they don't. But the point is that the masses as a whole cannot be trusted. The difference between a democracy and a republic is that whereas in a democracy the majority rules, in a republic it has to be unanimous or the person is free to go, because the government has nothing to do, the type of government mostly has to do with law and order. And so the idea is that in a republic is that the government's whole job is to protect the people and protect your property and allow freedom of movement and leave the people alone, right? It's to ensure that I can have property, I can have my stuff, and that I can leave my property, I can go and produce goods, and I can contribute to the overall economy of the country, and I can come back and my stuff is protected. If someone tried to invade my property and take my stuff without my willing, the government will back me up and get my stuff back. When you start to have the government start imposing rules to prevent the people from moving forward, when you start having a government that imposes rules that, goes from protecting the people against the property, but instead of telling, it should be about protecting the people and their property and their ability and freedom of movement and ensuring that people can live long, happy lives. When the government starts telling people what they are and are not allowed to do in those lives, you cross the line from a republic to a democracy. And that democracy, historically, always ends up going into an oligarchy. The same thing happened in Rome, where when the republic fell and they ended up becoming a democracy under the rule of the Caesar, they ended up becoming a democracy, and eventually that democracy, instituted a bunch of things like welfare programs, subsidies. People started going on the dole. Farmers started, no longer having any, no longer producing. As productions went down, subsidies went up. More welfare programs were introduced. They started, controlling the people by giving them bread and free entertainment to ignore the fact that they were unhappy with their lives. And the next thing you know, the Caesar campaigns, takes full control of the power, and then he implements a small group of people, and all of a sudden that republic became a democracy, and that democracy became an oligarchy, which is a small group of people. Because again, do remember that monarchies, dictatorships, anything like that, like the idea of one person ruling your government is not real. That's not real in the slightest. Every dictator has his group of commissars. Every king has his earls or dukes. There is no one person that controls everything, because they always divvy out power to generals, to nobles, to lords, to things like that. So rule of one person's not really there. It's only rule of a small group, a selective group of people, and those people have all the power, and that's an oligarchy. In a democracy, it's a 50-50 balance where the government protects the people and the people keep the government in line. In a democracy, it's the people have all the power, and whoever controls the people is the one that really has the power, and who controls the people is a small group of people. That's an oligarchy. You don't want a democracy. You want a republic, and that's what I would do in the United Cities. Is I would abolish the current standing of the United Cities, where I would remove the nobility. I would remove the emperor. I would remove the military control of the people. I would bring industry back, give the industry back to the people, let the money flow freely instead of having massive amounts of taxes, make a government where their only job is to keep trade routes open, protect the roads, create the infrastructure, and make sure that freedom of mobility is maintained and protection of borders are maintained, and let the people govern themselves relatively outside of a court of law. And then obviously have a court of law to keep the people from hurting each other, or punish people that violate the rights of other people. But beyond that, the government shouldn't be having any intervention, and the United City nobles shouldn't have any intervention. So I think the only way to fix the United Cities is to abolish their entire form of government and replace it with a republic. But that's just my take. So people should be the economy, all that stuff. Everything should be run by the people. Everything should be run by the people. The government's job should just be to protect the infrastructure, to make sure that trade routes are open and available. It should be to keep the people safe from external threats, to make sure that rights are not violated, keep trade and businesses functioning and opening, and then the people should be the ones that are facilitating the economy, that are facilitating growth, that are facilitating movement. The government's job is just to make sure that rights are not infringed upon. Their job is not to tell people what to do. It's never been to tell people what to do. And that's the issue with the UC, is that the individual lords all have different rules and regulations. They have an entire economy propped up on slave labor. They have no centralized form of government. Each lord can rule how they want. Some are nicer than others, some are worse than others. And the only real form of regulation and corruption, the only form of regulation for corruption in the United States is Igor, and Igor is essentially just the lapdog of Emperor Tengu, and Tengu is an absolute jackass and has no idea what he's doing and has no intention of stopping. I mean, he was put on the throne as a figurehead in the first place because, again, the United Cities is just a giant allegory for feudal Japan, where the daimyos had all the control. They were all under the control of the shogunate. Well, the emperor, who was allegedly in control, was really just a figurehead, So, No, I haven't met any nice nobles. They're all, they all deserve to be beaked, things, thrown in the gut. That's what they all get. Every noble should be thrown in the gut. I don't think any one of them are worth saving at this point. I wish there was a good noble. I think that would have been a really compelling idea if there was like one noble in the UC where you were just like, ah, shit, they're good people, you know. And maybe if he survives you killing all the other nobles, maybe he rises to power as the new emperor, and we would see changes in the United Cities. I think that would have been a really cool idea, but it's also a little bit more positive than Kenshi tends to be. Kenshi's a pretty negative world. Excuse me. But as far as I know, I don't think any of them are nice. I don't think any of them are good. Let's see if this one's going. What are these? Some research? I wonder if those are like old mods that maybe got removed. I'm not quite sure. We're going to keep that going now. I think we have a couple of some building supplies going. Yeah, we got some building supplies, so we should be able to keep that going. Republics can be bought too. Here's the thing, no form of government's ever going to be perfect. There's 8 billion people on the planet. We all have different ideas, and it's human nature to lust for a better situation by any means necessary. You're never going to come up with a better form. But we have to come up with the best form, the form of the solution that is going to benefit the most amount of people and be the most regulated for the most amount of time, because nothing's permanent. You know, every single government has, other than the current Republic of the United States, which I would argue at this point isn't even a republic anymore. It's a democracy on its way to an oligarchy, unfortunately. Every form of government has fallen and been reformed within 250 years because no form of government is maintainable. It's always susceptible to corruption because people are susceptible to corruption. With that being said, if no solution is a permanent solution, you need to look for the best solution, and it is of my humble opinion that the best solution is a republic, because while it is susceptible to corruption, if done properly, there are checks and balances that hold that corruption back for as long as humanly possible. It's only when you start to transition to a democracy, when you start to transition to an oligarchy, when you start to transition into anarchy, which anarchy is just a transitionary stage between one oligarchy and another one. It's not even a government. It's not a form of government. Obviously, it's the absence of government. Because contrary to the modern belief of what government is, it's not a scale of far left to far right. It's actually a scale of all government control to no government control. I would consider myself right in the middle as a constitutional, as a moderate. There is no such thing as a perfect form of government, just like there is no such thing as a perfect economy or a perfect candidate or a perfect ruler, because there's 8 billion people, and that's a lot of people to please, and nothing that you do is going to please everybody. So you need to do the thing that's going to please the most amount of people, and not just please them, but also benefit them, right? Because a lot of people think that things that are going to make them happy are going to make them happy, and it's not always the case. Sometimes the best solutions, the best things that in my personal life, the best things that I've done are the things that are the hardest, the things that make me feel like absolute dog shit afterwards. But they have to be done. And you need someone that's willing to make those choices in spite of the fact that not everyone's going to like them, right? And it's not always easy, and sometimes those they backfire. Sometimes they don't go right. Sometimes there are unintended consequences. Sometimes some people are going to suffer as a result, because again, there's 8 billion people to think about. It's not just about you. It's not just about your group of people. You have to find the solution that's going to benefit as many people as possible for as long as possible. And the ones that it doesn't benefit, that is unfortunate. But what are you going to do? You can't please everybody, you know? And again, some of the best decisions that you're going to make, the idea that the decision that feels right is the best decision or the good decision, it's not true. Some of the best things that I've done in my life, as the things that have had the best, most positive impact on my life, are the ones that made me feel like absolute dog shit at the time. Because it's not about what makes you feel good, it's about what's going to be best in the long run, and what it's sometimes the moral decision, sometimes the best decision, sometimes the right decision, sometimes the smartest decision is the one that makes you feel like shit. And you need to do those regardless of that. So I kind of went off Kenshi for a while here. I've been going on a whole tirade about a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. Just turn Kenshi into a gigantic narco state. It's fine. Just reinstitute skeleton rule. It didn't work the first time, but we'll give it a go, right? It didn't work the first time, but let's try it again. Griffin working on the athletics. Look at him. Look at him. Just going ham. I like that they're working out on their own for no reason other than they have free time. Like in their free time, the dwarves are like, let's get swole. Let's get swole. And again, I don't mean for this to turn into like a whole political thing. I'm not trying to. I really hate mixing politics with stuff because politics make me angry. I try not to even talk about it, but. You know, the question came up regarding the United Cities, so I felt that I had to, like, explain why I think the way that I do, and the only way to really explain why I think the way that I do on the United Cities is to explain my relationship with real-world politics, because the two are directly connected. I don't use the hookah on here. I've seen it. I don't think I have it. I don't have it. I just have the gym equipment because I think it's fun. Although it doesn't work with Lord's Dream because he is a juggernaut, so the animation pack doesn't work with him. He's technically working out his athletics right now, but he is a juggernaut, so he's not of the normal races, so the animation doesn't function with him because he doesn't have an animation pack for the CBT gym equipment, which is funny. The Chaos Age did not build the Second Empire, though. The Chaos Age was nuclear winter, man. They didn't build the Second Empire until afterwards. All my water's gone. That sucks. Yeah, the Chaos Age was actually nuclear winter. Everything came afterwards. The Age of Chaos was defined as the Age of Chaos because there was no civilizations, no notable factions, no large building, nothing of significant improvement to society, no factions, no notable people, nothing rose during that time because everyone was purely focused on survival and not freezing to death. Not streaming to death. That's what I'm doing. Not freezing to death. So I appreciate that, Kane. You know, nothing is ever obligated. I appreciate anything people give me. I don't do this for any of that stuff. I do it because I enjoy talking about Kenshi. I enjoy talking about lore. I enjoy narrating, speaking, telling stories. Ultimately, it's not even about Kenshi at the end of the day. I just like telling stories. I like explaining and talking about fascinating worlds beyond our own, where things are with, you know, rich histories and heroes and irony, because my name is Hero on here. You know, rich histories and heroes and empires falling and rising and all that stuff. I enjoy immersing myself in the worlds that other people have made and the worlds that I've made. That's why I want to make my D&D channel as well, because you know, they're just so interesting, and I like being able to explain those things and share my interest for those things with other people, you know. I do plan on doing some D&D lore too. D&D lore is tough, man, because it's so wild. It whips around like crazy. Is wild. Favorite ways to play Kenshi. What way do I play Kenshi? So, I've tried to do solo playthroughs before. I've tried to do solo playthroughs before, where I have like one guy, but I always end up recruiting like 2 or 3 more. I like doing small groups, like 4 or 5 people, getting a small keep like this and running like a mercenary company. And having like a group of you know, 4 or 5 really strong guys rather than an army, which at some point here I'm going to have to get back out there and get back to recruiting. Luckily we have enough food and everything's good. And now that we're walled in, actually, I can move, or mostly walled in, but I don't see crabs coming through this way anytime soon. I can actually get to moving again. What's my athletics? 80? Oh yeah, my boy can move now. He's got some movement on him. Alright, let's, well, with that being said, we're going to send him back over to the island lab. You know, I've tried doing solo playthroughs though, but I can never get too far with them. I've done a couple heavy roleplay playthroughs before where I like had a very, you know, similar to this but with different concepts. Like I did like a family of 3 where the idea was that they were all like it was a family and they were all, you know, going through and they were like a little guild of families. I've done a shopkeeper playthrough. That's really fun. I think that's probably one of my favorite playthroughs that I've done. Is less combat oriented, and I wasn't like a traveling merchant. I like actually set up a shop in several towns and was like producing goods and selling the goods. You know, I've done a restaurant playthrough. That one was the restaurant playthrough I did was actually inspired by, God, I feel bad because I want to say his channel name, but I can't remember what his channel's name is. He's the guy that did the McFood Cubes. McFood Cubes. That playthrough where he made a bunch of restaurants. I've done a restaurant playthrough too. I think it was right after I watched that because I was like, it's fucking awesome. Yeah, so that one was good. Love that one. Yeah, Kenshi D&D. I think I saw somebody on Reddit was working on a Kenshi D&D, and if they finish it, if they manage to get that up and running, I would abso-friggin-lutely want to play it. I would absolutely want to participate in it and play it. I think that would be absolutely incredible. The merging of these 2 worlds. I think Kenshi would make a fantastic setting for it. You've already got you've already got like the races set up. You just need, and for the most part, you've already got like a baseline that you can use for like their stats and their racial bonuses and stuff like that. And then, you know, it's just a really rich map. I think Kenshi D&D would be fantastic, and I think that if Chris and the team have the spare time and the drive, they should definitely invest on getting someone to put that together, because that would be a fantastic supplemental material just to get people more invested in the world of Kenshi and just for good marketing, honestly. If I was dropped in Kenshi, I think it would depend on where I was dropped. I mean, to be honest, if you drop me in the desert, I'm probably going to die. If it wasn't from a skimmer, it's going to be from the sun. I burn super easy. So, I didn't when I was a kid, but now I do. I burn really easy now. So if it was in the desert, I'd probably die. Or I'd wish I was dead. I'd roast up like a piece of bacon and get eaten by a skimmer. Deadlands, I'd die. Acid rain, that'd kill me quick. I don't know, it depends. It depends where you drop me. To be honest, I'd probably end up going to the Holy Nation. I'd probably just pretend to be an Ochre Knight for a while I figured out what I wanted to do. I think I could probably fake it for a while, you know? Just pretend that I'm one of them. As a human, I really think, like, especially as a human guy, I'd probably try to get to the Holy Nation. That's probably the best chance I have of having any kind of longevity in my life. You know, I don't think I'd live very long otherwise. I wouldn't be fulfilled or happy, but I'd not be dead. So that's a start, you know. My favorite weapon in Kenshi. Odachi. Yep. Or Falling Sun. I do like the Falling Suns, but I'm a big fan of the Odachi. Something about it. Something about a big-ass two-handed katana. It resonates with me. And then the Falling Sun, because I like seeing limbs go flying. There's also something funny about that. So, there's that. Zay can get over here. I need a pack mule. Fragment Circle's cool. Yeah, Fragment Circle's cool. I like the Fragment X too. I think those are cool. They're just really unwieldy, so I don't think I'd be able to do that. I mean, I'm a pretty strong dude, but I'm not that strong. I also haven't lifted in like 2 months, so I lost I stopped taking my creatine and stopped lifting like 2 months ago because I got sick and that I was working a ton, and I was traveling a lot for work, and I just lost the ability to do so. I gotta get back into it, but I lost a bunch of muscle mass because I stopped taking my creatine and stopped lifting as much. So I need to get back to it so I can get swole again. Because I'm looking like a string bean these days. Favorite sidearm? Favorite sidearm. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I don't think I could say for certain what my favorite sidearm is. Also, another Dwarven Maul. Very excited about that. I'm going to be giving that to somebody. I just need Zig in here so I can gather up some of this other stoof. I don't need to grab the fish. I've already got pretty much everything else. What does this sell for? Yeah. Okay. Are there any other containers over here? There's one right there. Ooh, AI core. I always love an AI core. I mean, it depends on your start. Typically, alright, so you have to be... The reason why I like doing a small faction of elite characters is because there's a bit more micromanaging involved in terms of things like combat, right? Like, you can't just rush into combat, at least early on. Late game, you kind of can, because once you get to a certain point, like, numbers don't really matter of the enemy until, you know, unless you're fighting, like, enemies that also have stats in the 60s and 70s or anything like that, but, you know, you have to be a bit more strategic with combat. You want to be more careful. Best bet is, what I usually do is, if I have a team of 4, for instance, I'll set one as a primary character, one as a secondary character, and I'll assign the secondary as a bodyguard to the primary, and then I'll have them travel in groups of 2. So no matter what they do, there's always 2. That way one can pick the other one up, one can pull, you know, carry the other one. Now there's always a chance they're going to die, but that chance exists no matter what you do, because Kenshi is Kenshi. The Jite is vanilla. I am a big fan of the Jite, but the Jite, I'm pretty sure the Jite's a 2-handed weapon, isn't it? Am I wrong? I'm not 2-handed, but like it's too thick. It's got to go in the back, right? Or maybe I'm mistaken. It's been a while since I've used the Jite. Does it fit in the one-handed slot? Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. The Jite is vanilla, but tell me if I'm wrong. Does it go on this 2-handed slot? For some reason, when I think of the Jite, it goes on the back, but maybe I'm wrong. There's 2 versions. Okay. Okay, yeah. So that's why I'm confused about it. Yeah, so I'm a fan of the Jite. I do like the Jite. I would say the Jite is probably my favorite secondary. It kind of gives you that balance, right? Because I like the Odachi, which is a cutting weapon, and then you have the Jite, which is like a knock you the fuck out weapon, right? So depending on the mood or who I'm going up against, I have 2 options. I can either chop your arms off or I can bonk you till you go to sleep. Both are acceptable. Oof. All right, we're gonna keep the stream going for just a little bit longer. I am gonna kick off a little earlier than I do on this than I usually do on this stream, just because I have some stuff I got to run tomorrow, and I also have to prepare for work on preparations for my next build video, which comes out on Friday for channel members and Saturday for the public. But I'm going to keep it going for just a little while longer. But I will be dropping off earlier than I usually do on this one. I'm going to pick this back up here in just a moment. I'll pick that back up after the combat, but I want my Mytau for this. Give King Vashu a little bit more training. Want to make sure our king is built up right? I want him to be able to fight against any foe. They're going to have to work to take him down, right? Especially when we go to war with the Shet Kingdom, because it is a coming, and I'm going to have to set up a temporary, like, war camp when we go to war with the Shet Kingdom, but I need to get more dwarves first, and that requires training, but I need King Vashu to be properly prepared for that aforementioned combat, which means I need to constantly be putting him in dangerous situations to improve his skills. Yeah, that's the other thing. Train your medic. Honestly, I'm terrible at training stealth. I almost never do stealth runs. It is not my my go-to strat, which is most unfortunate because it is, you know, a good strat to have, but it's almost never my go-to strat. I don't think I've ever done a stealth-focused playthrough or had a character that's heavily stealth-focused. I've never done it. I have 3 different animation mods that add animations to all weapon types, so I have like a constant stream of really cool animations playing, and it really diversifies combat. Super fun, especially when you're fighting enemies with weapons that aren't fish people kicking you in the groin, or in this case the face, because, you know, King Vashu's head is kind of at the groin. But Yeah. Oh, he's still going over there. Lots of different animations though. How are they doing? Are they almost here? They're coming. Will they make it? Probably not. Vashu, you know, he's doing his best. He's doing his best. He's taking damage, but that's just because he can only block so many attacks at once. But train that toughness, get him built up. Also, I need to get some stuff to sell, so that's the other part of it. I have reinforcements on the way anyway. Holy crabs! That dynamic shifted real quick. Ooh. Friggin' crabs, man. Griffin, going to war with crabs. I don't know, man. The gurglers seem more like squishy fish people. Like, they seem more like fish people, whereas, like, the crabs are obviously crustacean. Like, they're from the same place, but, like, that doesn't stop the people of Kenshi that are from the same place from killing each other, you know? You'd think they'd have an alliance because they're underwater folk, but, like, who knows? Maybe the political situation underwater is just as fucked up as it is on the continent. Take out as many of these as possible. Train these boys up. Let them go. Yeah, there's also usually good equipment around here. Thank God I disabled the flies. No dachi. Where's Griffin at? Griffin, what you got? Ooh, forgot all about that lifting leg. Big bots are scary. Don't. That's too much. Too much. I disagree. Too much. You've crossed the line of what is acceptable. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and get that in just a second. I'm currently trying to free up some inventory space. I have to collect basically one weapon at a time, give them to Zagan, store them, and then I'm gonna send Zagan with me on a recruitment run to well, get recruits because I need more dwarfs. Haven't gotten a new dwarf in a little while. Last new dwarf I got was a Zumi, and she got eaten by gurglers. So I need more, you know. Golden Topper, where you at? There you are. That is a nice tappa. Look at that tappa. That's a nice tappa. I'm gonna give that to one of my boys, one of my dwarves. Outfit them with the good stuff. All right, Zagan over here. You back on. Anything else? Any other good ones? Ooh, normal books. I need normal books. I really need normal books. Any other normal books? One right there. doing? Stop doing things, my lord. What is he doing? Oh, he's cooking, I'm pretty sure. That's funny. I'm pretty sure he's over here cooking. Like he's been running back and forth, like scavenging and grabbing stuff. That's funny. Okay. Alright, we're gonna head back to base. Good little excursion. Got a couple of things. We gotta get some money. There's a trader at the base? Oh. Oh yeah, there's a beast trader. Look at that. Too bad I have literally no money. Come on in. Yeah, too bad I have literally no money, or else I'd buy them. I'd buy something. I don't have any money though. Oh, that sucks. All right, well, we'll let them into the base. Let them loaf around. Oh, they're just running straight. What the hell? That ain't right. That ain't right. You guys see that? They just waltzed right through my wall. That ain't right at all. Alright, so Zagan and... Oof, Vashu's in rough shape. He needs to go lay down. He's the only one that's fast enough, probably, though, to make a decent run. I'll send Vashu and Zagan off to do a trade run. And then... What's his athletics at now? Athletics, where you at? There you are, 66, 75... Maybe we'll send Vashu and Griffin, because they can pick up 2 recruits and run back with them. Excuse me. Now that we're fully walled in, well, mostly fully walled in, there is, you know, the back end over here, but I don't foresee anything going through there right now. Maybe later on when there's a bandit problem, but absolute worst case, I can have them funnel into the main keep here, lock this door up, and then have my my golems deal with them in the interim. Speaking of not golems, but in terms of defense, we don't have enough power for that, but what we do have is these. Mount up some turrets. They can aim out, right? Yeah, they can aim out. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Cool. Get some turrets going. Yeah, once Vashu's up and running, we'll get moving and go get some more recruits. You know, one side of one downside of my so I was really proud of my recent theory. I'm still really proud of it. My recent theory as to why the Holy Nation oppresses their women the way that they do, oppresses women the way they do, their views on their women. Unfortunately, it's created quite the conversation in the comment section with a number of people that have some very interesting ideas. Very interesting stuff. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. heard some very unique takes. That is for sure. I don't know who wants stronger beak things, but someone made the Hydra, so you know clearly someone wanted stronger beak things. They gave them 7 heads. Slow process of building. Look at that slow uptick as they put together this base, this fortress, this tower. Way back. I should really get the mod that makes these blueprints blue instead of these like red wires. There isn't solar storms in Kenshi. It's actually a space beam thing. That is utter horror. The idea... Can you imagine the idea of a winged... I want to say purple. I don't know why. Purple is the color that comes to my mind. A giant winged purple beak thing flying through the ether, just raining down hellfire like some kind of feathery god. Not okay. None of that is okay. You boys set up there, and we are going to make a Catan run. But before we do that, we're going to save because you never know. Gorilla bandits. Yeah, I don't really feel like messing with them. Don't really feel like messing with them, although I'm pretty sure Vashu... I'm pretty sure they could take them, but I'll try to avoid that for now. Alright, we're going to head off to Catan. Try to get me some recruits. We're going to go this 2 times speed instead of 3 because I need to look out for big things. I'm going to get rid of my depth of field because last thing I need is to be ambushed by big things because it was too... the doff was too intense and I couldn't see them. So skin spiders. Try to avoid that crap. We don't run into any elder beak things. I think an elder beak thing would probably... I think they'd probably be able to take Zagan on a one-on-one, which is scary. Because there's not many things I think could take him one-on-one, but an elder beak thing is definitely one of them. That is a fucking drove of them. Oh my god, look at them. There's so many. That's horrifying. Absolute murder of beak things over there. I hope they implement more trophy hunting in... There they are. There's the elder beak things. We're going to avoid those. Yeah, those things would be disastrous to fight. One of the worst things about beak things is the their range for aggro is ridiculous. No! No! Oh boy. If it's gonna be anybody, Zagan, it's on you, buddy. Oh my god. Can he do it? Can he fend off the beasts? Listen, I know that you're right, but I don't want to admit that you're right about the aggro. All right, we're gonna have them head up there. Zagan, how you doing? Are you still around? Has he managed to successfully beat one of them yet? Nope. Nope, it is not looking good for our big metal buddy. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He may survive this. Can he? He just might go all the way. Come on. Come on. Come on. Ah. Nope. Is he eating the skin spider? Yeah, he's eating the skin spider. Pretty sure. I hope he's eating the skin spider, otherwise he's about to eat Zagan, and that would be bad. But there's literally nothing I can do. Please tell me he's not eating Zagan. Okay. Who? Because Zagan's counted as an animal in the in the game, So like, if he was eating Zagan right now, there's literally nothing I can do about that. Okay, what we're gonna do is, we have, see, this is why I brought him. This is one of the reasons I brought him. I brought him for a couple reasons. I'm gonna sell this AI core because I need cash, and I can get more. And I have plenty of ancient science books. I know, sue me. I sold an AI core. Don't yell at me. I don't know. I personally, I've never subscribed to the idea that the Holy Nation were flat out incels. I think they're just religious zealots who are like indoctrinated into a religion of fear and aggression against the other races, not because of incel behavior per se, but because they truly believe that the other races are out to destroy humanity, and they feel some kind of, well, it is false moral obligation to protect their fellow man, and they're not doing it the right way, obviously. But I don't think it's an incel situation. I don't think it's necessarily like a alpha male, beta male situation. I really think the Holy Nation is just backward. They're trying to protect humanity, but they're doing it in a backwards way that has been corrupted and altered throughout the course of Holy Nation history as a result of repeated intervention and adjustments to their belief system by the clergy and by the Phoenix. The Phoenix usually at the hands of the clergy. But I wouldn't necessarily refer to them as incels. I think that's a really basic and superficial argument, because it's like, oh, they hate women, they're incels. But like, it's not. I don't think that's what it is. I think that it is everything. All of their hate is rooted in their history, and it doesn't justify it. It's not right. Again, I cannot stress this enough. They are not correct in the way that they are doing things. But I don't think that it's as simple as being like, oh, they're incels, because like, that's not really what it is. You know, that's a superficial way to look at the situation. It's surface level. There's more to it. You know. It doesn't make it right. It's not a justification, but that's a very simple, superficial way to look at it. When there's more to it than that. There's more at play here than just an incel, you know. Let's see if I can get Vasho out here to heal him. Jesus, beak things are attacking the city. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, I can see why people come up with, like, the beak thing in incel concept. Like, I get it, but, like, I feel like it's a superficial argument because I feel like there's more to it than that. You know, it's not like they're just like, they're not like the group of guys that go out to get laid and then go home at night empty-handed because they're actually insufferable pains in the asses that treat people like garbage and think that that's somehow fun. Like, they're not the going out to get laid guys, you know. They have a history that is deeply rooted in fear that at one point was relatively justified. And it's just kind of gotten out of control from there, and you know, it's not good, it's not right, but it's more to it. There's more to it. It's nuanced. There's more to it. That's one of the reasons I really like Kenshi's lore and Kenshi's writing, is because nothing is ever as simple as good and bad or good and evil or anything of the sort. Everything's very nuanced. There's a lot more to it than just these are good people, these are bad people. You know, in the Holy Nation's eyes, they're not oppressing women, they're protecting them from themselves. They're protecting humanity. And again, that doesn't make it right. They're it's not justified. It's abhorrent the way they treat them, but they're not incels because they think that they think they're protecting them. They think they're doing the right thing, you know? And they think that if they allow if they don't hold, according to my theory, the theory that I've come up with, and the theory that I ultimately believe, if they allow them to do these things, then, you know, they could give birth to a whole new agent of darkness, a whole new race of darkness, similar to what happened with the Shek. And there was a comment on that video that was a beautiful breakdown. Actually, I'll read it right now. That I really felt like it expanded on my theory very, very well, and articulated things in a way that I myself wish I had done even better in the video. So I'll actually read it because it's a great breakdown. It came from user phonograph 0phono8143. I pinned the comment and everything. So it says, interesting theory, definitely synergizes well with the rigid patriarchies that have come to exist in the real world. If you look at human reproduction from a strictly biological standpoint, then orienting society around tracing lineage through the father isn't actually very practical at all. In a world without paternity testing, tracing your lineage through your mom is far more intuitive. After all, any child with that a woman births is certainly her own child, whereas the paternity of that child is always questionable from anyone besides the mother. Like, the maternity is always correct, the paternity is not necessarily correct. And sometimes even the mom herself, if she's had more than one paramour around that time she got pregnant, may not know who the paternity is. If you trace the lineage through the paternity, then you basically need to have someone monitoring that woman's every movement from the time she's born to attest to her purity. And again, this is not like an instantly comment. This all comes together with the theory itself. Let me just finish it. Who can facilitate her marriage to a man. Only then can her husband have any sort of confidence that her children are his own. Doing so is resource intensive, so you basically have to have a structure that creates a patriarchal society that, like, tracks who women have been with, right? And the idea in Kenshi of doing this, that they would have this patriarchal society to track the partners of women, are because in the past of Kenshi, women gave birth to the enforcers that would go on to be the Sheks. So now they have this patriarchal system where they have to hold the women down, where they think they have to hold the women down, because they're like, you know, we in the past, you guys went out and you cavorted with darkness. That's not what happened. They were experimented on during their pregnancy. But as far as the Holy Nation knows, they went out and they cavorted with darkness, you know? If my theory is correct, then it certainly explains what happened to the Holy Nation to make them the way they are. Children started being born with inhuman features, fostering an obsession with racial purity, leading to human men heavily restricting the autonomy of human women. And since enforcers, according to Skeleton Dialogue, used to look more human, it makes me wonder if the Proto-Shek genes were sometimes skipping generations. Maybe humans that didn't even realize they had enforcer genes in them, and women who were doing everything right according to the Holy Nation doctrine, would have no idea why they were birthing these weird Proto-Shek children, while the men would accuse them and punish them of assumed adultery, which fostered a deep distrust in even more virtuous women, creating a negative feedback loop of ever-tightening reproductive restrictions. This could also explain why the purest, most obedient, Okran-fearing Holy Nation women are still considered to be fundamentally Narconian in nature. Even the best-case scenario, women may still sometimes have been giving birth to these weird, bony-looking children until the Shekin human population were fully separated into two distinct subspecies. So, like, as a result, the women have been unfortunately oppressed because they were experimented on, and through generations of evolution, ones that maybe didn't know they had enforcer genes in them were eventually giving birth to children that looked more and more Narconian or more and more Shek, and it created this loop that said if you don't oppress women and you don't track their lineage and you don't make sure that they can't have any kind of social standing or freedom, then they might give birth to a new race of darkness. And I don't think that's incelly. I think that from the Holy Nation's perspective, that makes sense. From our perspective, it's fucking lunacy because we know the truth, but they don't necessarily understand the truth, So, from the perspective of people, of a group of religious zealots who are bent on racial purity and how that may have occurred, it makes sense. And I don't think that's necessarily incelly. I think that it's unfortunate and wrong, but again, we have more context than they do, and they should be stopped. That's not to say they shouldn't be stopped. I'm just saying that, from their perspective, I don't think it's like an incel issue. I think that's a superficial way of looking at it, So, as for the Screaming Bandits, or the Shrieking Bandits, yeah, there's lore on those. I actually talk about them I wouldn't say extensively, but pretty closely in the, my Origins of the Cannibal video. I break down exactly where the Screaming Bandits came from. The Shrieking Bandits. Essentially, they are a non-Okran offset of the group of people, like a non-Okranite or non-cultist offset of the people that became, the cannibals in the Cannibal Plains. The cannibals, according to my theory, and there's a bit of evidence to suggest it, both in the nomenclature of the cannibals currently, also the fact that the cannibals the women have a holy flame painted on their stomach, which is very interesting. Suggests that they used to be members of the Holy Nation or the Cult of Stobe, because the cannibals started during the time of the Second Empire, so they would be members of the Cult of Stobe. And when they started to go insane due to heavy metal poisoning and toxic environmental factors in their plants from the offset of chemicals that were being soaked into the ground from the floodlands, because the floodlands were totally flooded, they became more and more religiously obsessed and ended up turning into religious zealots that started to perform blood rituals and human sacrifice, and they started eating people. And the ones that didn't fall to that, but were still locked into the region by the Second Empire, who took a defensive position and refused to let anybody in or out of the northern areas. They weren't trying to eradicate the cannibals. They were trying to keep them contained in the hope that they would sort themselves out. The ones that got locked in that were not part of that religious sect that went and turned full cannibal ended up becoming the Shrieking Bandits. That's why they are located just below them. And the Shrieking Bandit culture was essentially evolved from their mental degeneration in combination with the fact that they were constantly running from the cannibals. So that's why they run around everywhere. They were unable to set up shop or set up homesteads anywhere, so they were not making any materials or clothing or anything like that. That's why they're naked. And the screaming is a combination of their mental degeneration and also a cultural thing. So it went from mental degeneration to it developed into a cultural thing as well, because their early ancestors during the time of the founding of the cannibals would run and scream from the cannibals, and now the current Shrieking Bandits run and scream because that's what their ancestors did, but they don't have a full comprehension of why they did it. In reality, it's just that they were the non-homicidal, non-violent version of the Second Empire citizens that did not succumb to the environmental factors, but did not start eating people. That's also why their degeneration kind of halted and didn't become as physically abnormal as the cannibals did. The cannibals ended up, developing their distended stomachs and their weird proportions and their increasingly violent behavior, because on top of the mental degenerations, they also had prion issues from eating humans. Eating humans will cause you to develop literally genetic issues. It degrades you mentally. It degrades your family line. It creates genetic issues, genetic conditions, disorders down your family tree. Like eating people, it also has tremendous amounts of, even in situations where cannibalism has been allowed and encouraged in like cannibalistic tribes, there is a weird stress response. I wouldn't say it's not even weird. There is a stress response on the body, even in situations where it was done willingly. The human body does not want to eat other humans. It doesn't. And the body responds accordingly, and it breaks you down on a genetic level if you continue to do it. So, yeah. So, yeah, Kuru. Yeah, Kuru is a prion disease. That's exactly what it is. It's a prion disease that was founded in Papua New Guinea from a tribe that would eat brains and ritualistically eat their dead, and it created a genetic condition where if someone ate people ritualistically, even one time in their life, they were susceptible to developing Kuru later on, and it would end up killing them. And if you continue to do it over generations, it leads to mental degeneration and can increase violent behavior, especially in conjunction with the fact that their crops were tainted with heavy metal and chemicals and everything else that could have very well easily caused heavy metal poisoning, and long-term mental degenerative side effects similar to like lead paint and stuff like that. You know, how it can cause mental degeneration, can cause defects and mental defects, genetic defects, birth defects, all those kinds of things. Same concept. Their crops were tainted. They were eating people. They fell apart. The ones that did not eat people became the Shrieking Bandits. So, yeah. Yep. MJ, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. I put a lot of time into these. I appreciate it, guys. The compliments are always appreciated. I put a lot of time into my theories and my videos and my content, and I try to make sure everything makes as much sense as possible. Excuse me. And I'm glad people enjoy them. Yeah, and that's the other thing. You know, the cannibals. There's no curing them. There's no chance for them to return to civility. The only solution for the cannibals is to wipe them out. You need to wipe all of them out, and you need to never settle up there again, because that ground is tainted. It's tainted. It's fertile, but it's tainted. You need to never settle up there again. Worst mistake they made was settling up there. So one day they'll learn. Yeah, I mean the problem. That's why it rapidly turned the way that it did. It was a combination of religious fervor mixed with, the infested grounding and all that stuff. You know, it spread rapidly, and one could make the argument that it's gotten a bit better now because it's been 1,000 years and the water levels on Kenshi have dropped, so there's not as much of that bad material soaking into the ground anymore, so things may have started to return to a better level over the last 1,000 years. Those toxins may have started to decrease, but I wouldn't even fucking risk it. I wouldn't even risk it. Any humans up here I can recruit? No? Did I recruit them all? I'm pretty sure I recruited them all and they all died. No, not necessarily. Because one, you can see, hold on, I'll pull up the old map-a-rooney. You can literally see like a trail of where the toxins started to bleed, of where they bled up, and they're really dark down here, right? Like it has that. Let me zoom out a little bit more so you can see it. Okay. So you can see right here, it's got that really dark color, and then it turns to this like muted grayish blue, and then you get up here and it turns to a lighter color, where it's almost like the toxins that we're feeding from down here are starting to fade off. And then there's this big gap right here that at the time of the Second Empire was underwater. So all the toxins that were feeding into this area here would never have made it to the Leviathan coast, because most of this area was separated by water or was underwater. And then there's the other thing. Again, some of the toxins that had soaked into here may have decreased in potency because this area is no longer underwater, feeding that constant supply of toxic materials. Plus, all the toxic materials that were here, for the most part, have been kind of desaturated, denatured, and fallen apart, and kind of bled out, and they're not quite as toxic anymore, which is why you're able to settle up here now. Not that I would ever risk it, but this area up here largely was probably untouched by the toxins that caused the issue up here. It bled up through this way, and then it flowed out into the ocean. It probably never really corrupted this area the way that it did here because it was soaking directly into the land. So, no, basing in the Leviathan Coast will probably not turn your guys into cannibals. It is a really pretty zone, I agree. It is a really, really nice looking zone. It's funny how much like science and like geography and all that stuff ends up coming together when making my theories, because it's a game. Like, it's funny to me that like you can apply such rigid real life logic to a game. I mean, it's a game. But it just works. That's one of the reasons I love lore so much, is that it's especially Kenshi lore, is that it's rooted all in like reality and it's rooted in real life sciences and stuff like that. It all has it has its place. Pick him up because he's no, that's not what that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. All right. Because the water from this area, the water on Kenshi flows north, or at least it looks like the majority of the water flows north. So the water, you can see the trail actually right here where it was soaking up. The water naturally flowed north up this way, right? When it was there. And the water from the swamp up here, it naturally flowed in through here. The swamp was flooded. It flowed up through here and up this way. The water on Kenshi flows north. The most river, like this main channel of water here, it just looked like it flowed up north. That's really what it is. I made a comment during my last stream on the subject that it was weird because I always thought that water flowed north to south. That's not true. I looked it up. That's not true. I'm wrong. I was wrong. There's has nothing to do. That has to do with elevation and whatnot. And the truth is that the water just flowed north. It didn't flow south. So Oakran's Valley is super fertile because it got good water from the swamp that carried all the vital nutrients and all that good shit up through here, and then it settled right here, and it filled this area and it made it nice and fertile. And unlike right here where it carved through with erosion, but even on these little walkways you can see little bits of erosion. Little bits of like fertility where it looks really good, but it just wasn't a thick enough, wide enough area to cover it. But when I got up here, it had a nice wide base. It spread out nice and good. It made the area nice and fertile, soaked in all those nutrients that it got from the swamp. And up here it flowed north. Yeah, so literally if the water flows north, it solves pretty much most of the issues. Like most of the questions surrounding it, the water just flowed north. For you, sounds good. Scratch, my boy. Lower you down to a nice 84. I'll put you at 84. We're gonna max out that frame. Good to go. All right. No, why do I keep hitting bodyguard? That is not what I want to do. No. Pick you up. Alright, and then I gotta see if I can get one more recruit. Is there any around here? Yeah, I mean, you'd think you'd be like you could always be like, oh well, how do we know that they put that much effort into topography? What the hell are you doing? No, stop that! Stop that! What are you doing? Stop that! Like that they put that much effort into topography, but like they clearly did, right? There's clear evidence that topography took a big thought process here, because look at this. They took time to create natural lines of erosion in the ground. There's natural lines of water erosion all throughout here that indicate signs of water. I was able to recreate what we think the Second Empire map looked like just by using the topographical lines and signs of clear water erosion. It's crazy. You know, we can easily see the areas that were filled with water by just the topography. Beautifully handcrafted map that shows all of it. It's bananas. It's wild. It's absolutely obscene. They did a great job. They did a great job. You know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I got an idea. This is what, a police house? Yeah. So I have the recruitable prisoners mod on. So I'm gonna go and see, do we have anybody locked up? Anybody locked up? Guerrilla bandits? Hey? Can I maybe talk to you? Am I able to recruit you? Possibly? What do you got? You got anything on you? No? Well. I do wish there was a height modifier mechanism, but I guess not. So I cannot recruit that guerrilla bandit. Most unfortunate. There's not many recruits here, which is shitey, because I need more dwarves, and I have no immediate way to get more dwarves. Because there's no more recruits here. So now I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to get more dwarves. I suppose I could head over this way. Not right now, but like I could in the future head over that way. Instead of heading to Catan, I could head straight over this way into the southern part of the UC and take my recruits from there. That may actually be the best bet. Would be to get my recruits from over here by Clown Steady and those areas. I could probably get a few good ones too. That is an idea. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to end up having to do, which I will probably end up doing next episode. Alright. How are we looking on this? What do we got? Anything here? Anything good? I need books. That's what I need. Some books. All the books. And then some copper too. We need copper. Oh, you know what? We do need copper, but I think what I need more is wheat straw. How many do I have? I need 6 copper, and then the rest I can do wheat straw. Get rid of the building materials. I can always replace those back at home. What was I gonna grow here? Was it wheat straw? What was it? Shit. What was it? What was I gonna grow here? I need grog. We're gonna make grog. I need wheat straw. So wheat straw. Fair enough. And we'll have Griffin grab wheat straw as well. Look up some farming, get some farming going. Good. Alright. All of you guys, we're gonna head off. How fast are you moving right now? Not fast at all because of encumbrance. Fantastic. Griffin, can you pick up Zagan maybe? How fast can you move? 14, not much faster. So we're gonna put him down because fingers crossed that we don't run into those beak things much. Yeah. Alright. We're off. And then I know where to get future recruits, which is I'm going to head over to Clown Steady and go that way. A lot of beak things. My god. A lot of beak things. A lot of dead things. Seriously? They can finish them off. Now the elder beak things were right up here. Hopefully they'll stay away from. Oh, there it is. That's the one that Zagan fought. Apparently this elder beak thing got involved in a fight. There was a 3-way conflict between skin spiders, gorillas, and beak things up here. This is nature at its finest. At its finest. Oy vey. Oy vey. Yeah, that Elderbeak thing's a monster. Zagan was able to take down one of the Elderbeak things in a fight, but two was too much. Which, like, great. It's really fucked up because, like, look at it this way: Zagan was able to single-handedly take down an entire village of Gurglers to the point that they were stacked up like firewood. They were climbable. I made a literal mountain of corpses made out of pure Gurgler bodies. Zagan could not take more than one Elderbeak thing at a time. That means that one Elderbeak thing is worth well over 100 Gurglers. That's ludicrous. That's crazy. That is the artist formerly known as Prince Crazy. Into Gerzumi Keep. How's that building coming? Almost there. Almost there. Alright, we got a new dwarf, which is pretty cool. Alright, medic, rescue, make those your primary responsibilities above all else. And then, what's your problem? You guys are... I got two there. Alright, we'll put you on processing duty. Nines, you're making iron plates. Griffin, you're an engineer. Need to get you and Zagan over here to... put your crap in there. Griffin. Wheat straw. Got farming, right? Oh, and then Vashu has to put his crap in there too. All these books. Yeah, books. Books and whatnot. Books. Farming, we need wheat straw farming. Pretty sure I already got grog, which is good. Yeah, I did. Improved stone mining. Powered refinery. Yeah, we're making progress now. We need wells. Although I don't think I'm gonna have a well issue. That's for much. The Fish Isles is actually a really good place to settle if you can get past the initial difficulties. Defensive bunkers, we're gonna avoid that. I don't need that right now. Imprisonment, we're definitely gonna need those. Biofuel, definitely gonna need that. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Imperial armor crafting. This is the one that we need for sure. That is where we're going to make our dwarven armor. So we're going to have to start. We're going to start getting to work on that. That's going to be our next major goal, is getting our dwarves outfitted in proper gear. Should have grabbed some more health kits while I was there. Oh no, they didn't sell health kits. That was the big problem last time, is they didn't sell the proper health kits. Not that it matters. We're walled in at this point. We're not gonna have much issue. We're not gonna have much issue at all. Save it. Good. Good. Yeah, we're making progress. I'd say that we are making some solid progress here. Some solid progress. Yeah, we got to get some batteries going right now, because these wind generators do not they don't do much here. research. So we're gonna have to get the smithy up and running soon. I'm gonna put down a building that we're gonna end up using for the smithy. There was a really cool looking house that I saw the other day when I was doing my build. I don't think I have it yet. Hopefully I'll get it in the next upgrade here. But there was a really cool looking house that came with a mod that I have that I had never seen before that I'm very excited about. Crafting AI cores? You can't craft them, you gotta find them. And the most accessible source of renewable AI cores is cleanser units in the Ashlands, or if you want to cheese it, find a spot where they spawn, like for instance the island lab on the fish island. Go in, get it, there's like usually 1 or 2 of them in there, leave, import your save, do it again. That's kind of cheesy. Renewable source would be the cleanser units in the Ashlands. You can kill them and take their AI cores over and over again. They're the only, I think they're one of, if not the only source of farmable AI cores that you can get in the game. I may be incorrect about that, but I know that they are, I think they're the only, but there may be one other way, but that's the only one that I think I can think of off the top of my head. I pretty much exclusively live on crab meat, although we are running low on crab meat at the moment. We're going to transition to fishing here soon. That's why I left this little bit of water here, for the sake of fishing, allegedly. But I don't have fishing stuff yet, so can't do anything with that at the moment. Yeah. What did I just upgrade? No. Double house. Anyway. No problem. Happy to help. Happy to help. We're making slow progress. The dwarves they're coming together. They are coming together as we continue to upgrade and make things better. We'll continue to grow, but we're making some serious progress. Once I get done with these upgrades here, we will upgrade our workbench, and we'll go from there and start adding some more buildings around the town and get things all fitted up and looking good. But I'd say that our capital city is coming off to a good start. We own the Fish Islands, and anybody that wants to come through here is, going to have to pretty much pass through our territory because no one's coming from Cheater's Run. But we own this place. This is ours. It's all ours. Everyone's going to come from this bridge for when they try to attack us in the forms of triangle bandits, because they're the only ones that are really going to try and attack us here. Unless till later on when we start pissing off the major factions. But and when they do, they will be met with sweet turret fire as they cross the bridge. It's a beautiful choke point, battle of Thermopylae style. They're just going to get absolutely shredded by turret fire on that bridge. So, be a good time. Be a grand old time. Turn my DOF back on so my game looks pretty instead of like poop. This is the storm walls. They were made to mirror the buildings so that everything looks more uniform, and I like it because I'm going for a dwarf playthrough, which means I want like a lot of stonework and masonry involved, and they kind of have that same vibe. So they are the storm walls. If you go to the description of my previous live streams, Dwarven live streams, I have my link that goes to my Steam page and with my collection for this particular run. It has all of the mods that I use on this playthrough. It's one-click download. They'll all pop in. It'll download every mod that I have for it, including that one. And then it also has links to various breakdowns for my graphical setup as well if you want to make your game look like mine. So, all there. All there. Also, wonderful name. I can't say that I've ever seen your name in my chat before, but wonderful name, Fuckboy Jenkins. Good to see you. Reminds me of I don't know if you've ever watched American Dad, but there's one episode in particular where Stan keeps mentioning Suckboy Tony, which absolutely kills me. Absolutely kills me. Super funny. Super funny. Dude, finish building this building. What are you doing? It's done. Finish building it. It literally just needs... Oh, it needs iron plates. That's why. How much iron do we have left? 59? Yeah, we just need iron to be produced. So, Griffin, maybe you should start producing, my dude. Get it together. Processor. At least he's getting put to use. Scratch is not super useful dwarf at the moment, but he is getting some use. I'm gonna shift you. To build another one there. That's good, yeah. I always like variations in walls. New walls are one of my favorite things in Kenshi. Love new walls. Love any mod that adds new walls. I have concrete walls. There's a mod that adds like Japanese style walls that I think are really, really cool. Yeah. New wall, whereas anything that alters the walls or adds new elements to the walls, like I have one that adds sideways stairs instead of straight stairs because they look better. It's just anything that adds new walls. Always happy with walls. I have a chain link fence mod too that I think is really cool. Really love that one. Good happy fan of that one. All right, now I'm going to section off portions of the town as well. So my idea here is that I want to have a multi-gate setup, right? And so the idea is that when you come into the town, you'll be first met with the agricultural district, right? And that's what this whole area up here is going to be, is the agricultural district. And then once you get through the agricultural district, that's when you'll move into the primary district, or like the district of nobility, and then over here will be the production district, the industrial area, where the smithies will happen, where the economy comes in. But like right here, this area here, this is going to be the residential community in between the agricultural and the production facilities. I'm keeping them separate because I don't want my food to be tainted by that stuff. And then my castle will act as the focal point where the nobility will obviously run the shack. The dwarf, not the shack, sorry. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to do this stupid where I build one of them like that, and then I'll have to move it into place after the fact. That'll section off the town, cordon off the town a little bit, make multiple districts, and then I'll end up redoing this fence here later on, and then changing the way this layout, this fence is orientated and laid out. But for right now, it's gonna stay right there because it's already fenced in. But and then what I'll do is when I'm out here, I'll have farms set up all through here, and we'll just get a couple of buildings set up, a couple small houses and stuff, just areas that we can use for storage, and areas that look will fit the means for what we need. So let's go. Maybe right. Ah, crap! I can't do it until the gate's there. Okay, so we can't do that one until the gate's there, but. What other ones do I have? Tall house, tall house, tall house. Y house. Don't I have a two-floored two-floored storm house? I thought I did. Maybe I just don't have it unlocked yet. I want a really large house out here. That kind of defeats the point of this being like the cool agricultural district, you know? I just want an area for storage where we can store the food and stuff that we have. Maybe we'll just put a storm house out here. Yeah. On the back side of the castle. Make sure it's level. Raise it up a bit. Go here for storage. We're gonna have to make more once I get more dwarves, which now that I realize that I can go over to Clown Steady, I'm gonna go over next episode probably and just recruit a shit ton, and then sprint them back here, and I won't have nearly as many big things to deal with because I'll be running along the coastline. There'll still be big things, but not nearly as many, and we'll be able to really get this place up and running next time, that's for sure. For right now, I do want to place a couple of small buildings that I can use. These lookout towers are interesting. Maybe we'll use these in the farms themselves. Do I have the swamp ones? Or do I have to use the hive ones? I would prefer to use the swamp ones. Yeah. Alright, yeah, so we can use these on the, in the farms themselves to kind of act as like, or actually, you know what? I did this on the build video that's coming out later this week. There's I use in particular the type of fencing that I use is not one that you can put walls up on, and there's not many options for swamp towers. So the way I got around it was I used these particular watchtowers and I orientated them over the wall like this, so that way they could shoot down, but they were inaccessible from this side. So maybe I'll do that over here, and that'll be kind of how they watch over the farm and whatnot. You know, they're not going to be up on the wall per se, but they do have a means of watching it. So it's a little slapstick. I'll check it later, but maybe that's how I'll end up doing it. Dude, I hope cavalry would be badass. I would be all for cavalry. I'm gonna pause construction on that building. Do that last. I want to get some of this other stuff finished first. What are you guys doing? They're doing. They are doing. It's the three of you doing this, right? Yeah. So they're producing building materials at an incredibly slow rate. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to... That's going to be power, and I don't always have power right now. It will run automatically, which will be cool, but I don't always have power right now, so I gotta wait till we have batteries and farming. Speaking of which, Peshu, why are you not... Ew, I need electricity. That's literally part of the problem. Jesus Christ, I really need to get biofuel and stuff figured out. Alright, well, I do think we are reaching that point. I ran it longer than I even intended to. I intended actually to cut it off about an hour ago, but I was enjoying myself, and I got on a couple of tirades this time, so I wanted to make sure I got some good stuff happening. But I do think we've reached a good point to break off for now, so I do appreciate everybody coming out and you know, listening to me babble on and prattle about Kenshi and talk about lore and you know, my opinions on the gaming industry and just everything else in general. As always, I appreciate you guys' time anything you guys have. So do remember, like I said, I'm going to be starting a second channel here soon, talking about D&D and D&D related things, story videos, tips and tricks for DMs and players alike, just stuff like that. So if you guys are interested, do remember to go check it out. There's nothing on the channel right now, but there should be some stuff up there within the next week or so. The channel is called The Heroes Table. You should be able to recognize it by the profile picture. It's literally just me. It's my my standard vector look, but Heroes Table. I hope you guys enjoy the thing, and as always, remember to use your powers for good instead of evil. Make a difference in someone's life, and yeah, have a good one, guys. I appreciate your time, as always.